obviously I don't want to like have a cat encounter or, be attacked by a bear or whatever, but like I'm definitely way more scared of people than I am of animals.
Welcome to the Endurance Studio podcast. I'm your host, Dylan Turner. I'm an avid ultra-endurance cyclist, bikepacker, and runner, and I'm on a journey to learn and share everything I can about how people can push beyond their limits. This podcast will explore all aspects of endurance through conversations with people I find unique and interesting. There's always an amazing story of accomplishment and failure, and always something to learn. I run this podcast from an off-grid mobile studio I've created so I can travel to the guests and have authentic, in-person conversations because I believe in the importance and power of face-to-face conversations. Thank you for watching and listening. I wanted to let you know a few different ways that you can support this podcast. Of course, you can like, subscribe, and share with your friends. Tell other people about it. Tell your friends and family. If you think these conversations I'm having are valuable as I think they are, share it. Send it out. Ask them to subscribe. That would be amazing. That's a free way that you can support. Another way you can support is by financially support is by becoming a member on either YouTube or Spotify. Those links are always in the description of all the videos. And YouTube members do get some extra perks like member shoutouts during the podcast, priority reply to comments, and best of all, you get early access to new videos that I'm releasing. You can also, if you don't want to sign up for a recurring membership, you can also show me your support by sending a one-time gift using what YouTube calls the Super Thanks feature. So when you're watching a video, down at the bottom, there's the little buttons, the thumbs up, thumbs down button. And right next to that, there is a heart with a little dollar sign in the middle, and it says thanks next to it. That is the Super Thanks button. So if you click that, it'll allow you to give a one-time gift, financial gift of your choice. And it's just incredible. Like, seeing the support that I've gotten so far from both members and from Super Thanks is just amazing. And it is definitely allowing me to, keep this thing rolling down the tracks. I'd like to give a quick few minutes mention of a few products and companies that I love using and I just can't stop talking about. The first one is Squirrel's Nut Butter. They make adventure lube, some of the best adventure lube in the business. I use their saddle butter for riding and bikepacking. It has been a complete game changer in my ability to cycle further and farther without getting saddle sores. And I've also used their anti-chafe for running, different running events that I've done. It's just incredible stuff. It's all natural, sustainable packaging, amazing people, manufactured in Flagstaff. The whole story just feels good. If you haven't had a chance, check out the episode I did with Chris Thornley. He is the owner and operator of Squirrel's Nut Butter, and he's an amazing guy and just has an amazing backstory as well. So I do have a new coupon code for you, 15% off any products online. That code is Endurance15, ENDURANCE 15, for 15% off. There's also a link in the description below that'll automatically apply that coupon code to your shopping cart. So please use the code. It'll let them know that their support of this podcast is paying off for them. So, and just buy the product. It's incredible stuff. So go check it out. squirrelsnutbutter.com. And another company I'd like to mention quickly is Catula, another local Flagstaff company. They make shoe gaiters, shoe traction, and crampons. I particularly like their shoe gaiters and shoe traction. I use the gaiters for bike packing, so keep all the debris out of my shoes with all that hike-a-bike, and use the shoe traction for my wintertime running activities here in Flagstaff when it's icy. I also did a podcast with Chris Bunch. Go check it out. He's one of the product engineers behind the shoe traction, and it just like completely blew my mind how cool some of that engineering stuff is. Some of the thought that went into the design on those products that make them different than, say, knockoff products that you could buy on Amazon. So go check them out, Catula.com. And the last product company I'd like to mention is Dispersed Bikepacking Gear. Andrew and Katie Stremke are amazing human beings. They engineer, design, and sew some of the best bikepacking bags in the business. So go check them out. They sew them out of their van. They have a little workshop now. They're expanding, so it's great to see that. Disperse.bike is their website. If I'm gonna buy, I've said it before, I'll say it again. If I'm gonna buy bikepacking bags, I'm gonna do it from someone who's completed the Triple Crown race, which is the Colorado Trail Race, Arizona Trail Race, and Tour Divide, because those bags have been through the ringer. So he knows how to make a good bag. So go check him out. Today's guest recently finished the 2024 Pinyons and Pines Bikepacking Race in 2 days, 6 hours, and 30 minutes, placing her first in the non-binary category and 8th overall. She's a talented rider and bikepacker, and has completed the Colorado Trail Race and toured the Arizona Trail 300. I'd like to welcome to the podcast, Frances Hacker. Congratulations on finishing yesterday.
Thank you.
So I was also dehydrated. You were saying off mic, we're rolling, that you got pretty dehydrated. When did that kind of kick in for you? How much water did you start with?
I started with like 2 liters in my backpack and then like 3/4 of a liter bottle.
Okay.
Like a bike bottle.
Okay.
So not
just
a
under
lot.
3. Yeah, I had 4 and I was almost out by
Yeah.
Lake Murray Road the second time around.
Yeah. I was pretty thirsty. I was rationing.
That sucks.
Yeah.
Rationing sucks so bad.
And I had brought, one thing I realized like midway through the ride at Schultz Tank is that I had brought like some salt tabs and electrolyte capsules. And for some reason, like I didn't realize when I was like prepping my stuff and I like put 2 scoops of Tailwind like in the same bag as all the pills and shit.
Yeah.
And so I was like, what did I do here? I like just didn't use any of it. I was like, whatever, this is a mess.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
But you finished.
yeah.
Yeah, it was
Got some water, started feeling better. Kelly Pocket was cool. I hadn't ridden that before.
Yeah, I'm sad I missed it.
It's I would say it's like not the best biking. But it is really pretty.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's kind of cool, like different from over here.
And a bit of a climb to the finish.
There's like a big, like chunky rock hike-a-bike
Oh, really?
thing. Yeah, you like put your bike on your shoulder for a minute.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
At the just very short, but yeah.
All right. Yeah, I mean, I was following Cruz's line. I caught up to him. I was feeling okay. And then just, you know how, I mean, you've had big crashes before?
Yeah.
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 Like you just kind of are on the ground and you kind of don't
like,
know what happened.
How did that happen?
Yeah. And
totally.
I don't know if you can see my lip, but
yeah,
I like
got you.
I slid into a rock.
Yeah.
And it pinched my tooth
Ugh.
between my lips. So it's cut on the inside and it's cut on the outside because it
that could have been bad.
It could have been really
yeah.
bad. I was like making sure my tooth was still in place, right? Because I thought it's a good chance I could have knocked my tooth out, and I split my gloves in half.
Oh my god!
So my gloves were like split in half. So there's no like big physical damage on my hand, but the palm is like really sore, and I couldn't like.
Did you like overextend your thumb or something?
I think so. Like I couldn't, and so I hit the ground, and this is in coming down Fisher Point, which is, I mean, it was very like chunky, and I just
super loose right now too.
Yeah,
I mean, I think it always is. But...
We both did it on Pinyons just a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And I had no problems on that. Yeah. Fully loaded bikepacking bike, same bike.
Yeah.
This time I was definitely pushing harder, right? Like taking more risks. And then just woke up on the ground and then got out of the way and then got like super nauseous right away. Have you had that?
I don't think so, no.
Like you
I mean, I've been nauseous on my bike, but not from crashing.
From like an impact.
Specifically.
Yeah. Like nauseous in my stomach. Like I was like, oh my God, I gotta go poop.
Oh gosh.
Like
I usually just get the shakes. Like I'll be like really shaky and cry sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. I felt pretty like, I was like thankful it wasn't worse. Oh, and then my legs cramped up like immediately.
Yeah.
And Cruz stopped and he's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah. I'm like, nah, I don't have to go to the hospital. I know enough right now to know that like this isn't a hospital level crash.
Yeah.
Like, go ahead, but I need a minute. Go ahead.
Yeah. No, he's such a sweetheart. He's so cool.
Did you see him at the finish?
Yeah, he was there with his grandma and his dad, and they were cheering everyone in. What a shredder.
What a shredder.
I rode with him some on Pinyons too.
Really?
Yeah, we rode like a good most of the rim road together, and then it was like, 9:30 p.m. and he was like, It's bedtime. Bye. I like pulled off
I
too.
heard that.
Yeah.
Yeah, you told me that
I was
before,
riding
yeah.
with like him and 2 other guys at that time.
Yeah.
Yeah. You know,
And
okay,
he's
bye,
like, I'm
Chris.
getting my sleep now.
Yeah.
Good.
We leapfrogged on the AZT too, which it was nice to like know that he was with Tyler, I think.
Mm-hmm.
It was nice to know that there were some other folks around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. When you did the ITT?
Oh, no, like on the Arizona Trail section
Oh, on
right
Pinyons.
before we crossed Highway 87.
I see.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I want to go into CTR. Like I want to dive
Because you're
deep
doing it
into
this year, right?
Yeah. So
Cool.
I'm like looking for all the
Heck
beta
yeah.
I can get.
It'll be fun to be out there together.
You're doing it again?
Yeah, I think so.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have my furlough is in August. I have unpaid leave for 3 to 4 weeks a year, depending on the year. And it's always in August. Because
Okay.
it's like our slow season at Grand Canyon.
Okay.
And it's like always perfect timing to do the CTR or like ride the Colorado Trail. So,
Right.
yeah.
Nice. So, okay, yeah, let's go into your work because I was curious about your work and because you seem to spend a lot of time at the Grand Canyon.
Yeah, I used to live there. So
Okay.
I was at South Rim for 3 years, almost 3 years. I moved there in April 2021 and then lived at the South Rim pretty much full time. I would come to Flagstaff like almost every weekend though. Because there's not mountain biking up there. It's just gravel roads. And then you
Yeah.
can't bike in the canyon. And I love mountain biking. So I'd come down here on the weekends. And I love mountains too.
Right.
The canyon's amazing. But that community is like very small and pretty isolated. There's not a grocery store. So it's a really cool, like unique place to live. Like really awesome people. My coworkers up there are amazing.
Yeah.
But I just kind of like needed more community.
Totally.
Yeah.
So you live in Flag now.
I live in Flag, probably here permanently. I do backpacking and river permits for Grand Canyon.
Okay.
And then we get out to hike occasionally. We also like spend a lot of time talking to visitors, helping them plan trips and just like answering all their questions about water sources, trails, blah blah blah.
Mm-hmm.
But we have a Flagstaff office and there are 4 of us there. We do river permits and backpacking permits like in advance. And so it's been nice to like still work for the Park Service, essentially doing the same job, but just like not have to put on the little ranger suit every day and like, be able to bike into work and then like pop into the grocery store after work. My partner's here. I can go mountain biking before work every day if I want to.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you
It's a
have
good balance.
relatively flexible hours then, or
more so here than at the South Rim. Because up there it was like public facing job, so it was very rigid hours. But now
Yeah.
it's like I work roughly 7:30 to 5 every day, but I can flex it a little bit. We
Yeah.
work 9-hour days, and then I have a 3-day weekend every other weekend. So
Okay.
that's pretty nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sweet. And were you in like healthcare before this?
I did have a brief stint working as a tech at FMC in town.
Yeah.
I thought I might want to. I used to be like an outdoor guide, working like outdoor ed for Outward Bound and like similar organization.
Okay.
And was bopping around a lot doing that, like leading backpacking trips mostly, sometimes paddling trips, some environmental education. And then I kind of wanted to like settle more in one spot and thought nursing might be a good option. So I took like a nursing assistant course. It took 3 weeks, $500. And I was like, I'm going to try this out in the hospital, see how it goes. And it just didn't jive. Like I did not do well under like the fluorescent lights, 12-hour shifts. And then COVID hit when I was working at the hospital. And that was just insane. Like my unit turned into a COVID unit. They floated us everywhere, like all the different units, and it was a good experience. It's just I don't think the hospital was right for me. Like I needed to be kind of more outdoor focused.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I have a friend who pretty much kind of has the same story. And they said, I can't do this. I can't be in this dark room. There's no windows. I can't have natural light. They couldn't take that part.
Yeah. I think like, and I didn't really have like a feel of like a team with my coworkers.
Mm-hmm.
Like I knew some of them semi well, but the techs were just like floated everywhere. So I felt like I was working with different people every day. There wasn't a sense of like camaraderie. And then it was just hard. Like people were like suffering so bad during that time, and like saw
Yeah.
death, and like it was just emotion. I'm like maybe too emotionally sensitive for that to
Yeah.
like take it every day.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
empathic, taking
Yeah.
in, you're like absorbing all of this.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's hard not to. Like, I think few people can just let that stuff slide off their back.
Totally.
Like, I get very moved by, I get very influenced by the mood in a room or the mood at work.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like to the point where I feel like yucky about certain things. And I'm like, I have to just like sort it. I just have to like, we got to, sort this out right now or whatever.
Right.
In that situation, you can't just like sort it out. It's not just like weird work conflict or whatever.
It's like
you're in it.
Very big problems for people.
Yeah. And 2020 burned through so many people in the medical industry.
Yeah,
It just like
sure.
completely, and I think there's still like, there's fallout from that in the medical industry.
Well, and
now.
then there's also just the fact that like in the healthcare system, like, elective surgeries make a bunch of money for the hospitals, and those like completely went away during COVID or like the height of COVID. And then the hospital was like struggling financially. And then, the healthcare workers that are working overtime and having to deal with more stress are like having benefits cut and that kind of stuff. So I was like seeing that play out with the nurses, and just, they were complaining, like sitting at the nurses station talking about like what drink they were going to make for themselves when they got home. Like people were just like really stressed.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
So
understandably. And the outdoor industry was rising.
Yeah.
And needed people.
Yeah.
Right.
I applied for, when I was living in Flag with my partner at the time, and I applied for a park ranger internship in Colorado. It was like through Conservation Corps essentially. But then partnered with the BLM out of the Royal Gorge field office, like near Salida.
Okay.
Canyon City is where the office was. And I got it. So I was essentially like working as a, like a lower level park ranger for them, but it's sweet for the BLM because they don't have to pay for it. It's paid for through Conservation Corps. And like, I made less money than a government employee at the time, but I got this like special like Public Lands Corps hiring authority. So I could like, after that internship, apply for permanent jobs in the government, which is how I got my current job.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was like a super big plus for me.
Yeah.
In hindsight. And I think I also kind of got lucky in some ways with my job, but
yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. I mean, I feel I work for the university, so it's a state job.
Yeah.
Right. And I feel very lucky to have gotten that. I spend a lot of time in Flagstaff working really crappy jobs to wait it out to get the nice government job.
Yeah.
Right. It doesn't pay very well, but it's a government job.
So you've got like security and benefits.
Yeah. So if you add all that stuff in, if you add in the pension and the Arizona State Retirement System and the health benefits, the insurance, and you add all that stuff in, if you look at the cost of what that is and add that to your salary, you're actually making pretty decent money.
Totally.
But a lot of people take that stuff for granted. Like they don't factor that in. They just look at the take-home paycheck.
Yeah.
And for me and Jessica, my wife, she's very good with money and financials, and she just kind of like trained me into this thing. And it's a good, like long-term stable job to hold on to.
Yeah. Totally.
And so I'm very thankful for that too. And I mean, government jobs are good. Like it's a good place to be. Are
you like tenured now? Like
no, so I'm in the administrative side.
Okay.
So I'm not faculty.
Okay.
Like Dana's like a math professor, so he's faculty. So I'm staff, and because I work in management at the print shop for the university.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, so it's like a day job, it's contractual work. So I'm what's called a service professional, which is renewed once a year. You get a contract that's renewed once a year. It's a pretty safe job as far as that's concerned. Like even though you're year to year, it's a relatively stable job. They could not renew you. That is a possibility, right? That just comes with the territory. But most of like the management level and up are a service professional, and then like they call it classified staff for like the other workers, like custodial and the trades and stuff like that. They're all like classified staff, and those are like extremely safe jobs. That's almost like union level
Yeah.
safe kind of job,
Totally.
you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's a good gig. So let's go back. Let's go way back. So
Okay.
you're from Wisconsin? Is
Yeah,
that right?
I'm from Madison,
Wisconsin.
Madison, Wisconsin.
So what got you into the outdoors? What got you on a bike for the first time?
I have kind of always been into the outdoors. My parents had like a big backyard when I was growing up, and I kind of just like roamed around. My parents also like we didn't have like a ton of money growing up. I mean, we had like definitely enough. But I think just because they enjoyed it also, we went camping as our primary vacation most of the time.
Mm-hmm.
Usually like up north somewhere, usually car camping. And then they worked at this, they really wanted to send us to camp, like a wilderness camp experience. And there are a bunch of those up in northern Wisconsin. So they found one, and they worked there in exchange for like being able to send us to camp, which was pretty cool. So the program's called Camp Manitouish. It's a YMCA camp. But they're pretty hardcore actually. Like they take kids as young as 10 and 11 on these multi-day canoe trips, and you like pack up all your stuff, and you like, you know, they're like these big like kind of army style bags, and you bringing like all of the heaviest shit, and like, you know, like have these big like aluminum canoes, and then you know, there are inevitably portages. Like a lot of times you can just go like take like a stream or a river from one lake to another, because it's this whole, you know, it's glacial, I guess like geomorphology in that area. So like just a huge network of lakes and rivers that are all connected. But you inevitably like have to portage sometimes, and then you're putting the like 80-pound aluminum canoe on some tiny 10-year-old.
Or a group of tiny 10-year-olds.
Yes. And then I ended up working for that camp later, and like, you know, being the one responsible for making the thing happen. Like, you can do it. You can carry that canoe. Like, oh God. Like, I'm like, you know, just sweating, like hoping that they're not going to drop it on their heads. Yeah, but that kind of got me started. Like some of the friends that I consider like my best friends today, I met through that camp and that experience. And really just have like that and my parents to thank for getting into the outdoors.
Did you have kids when you were in charge? Did you have like freak out sessions and like meltdowns?
Oh yeah, there were like some pretty crazy things at that program. Yes. And then also Outward Bound was like sometimes parents would send their kids to those programs, and they really were like kind of more looking for a wilderness therapy thing. Okay. But the kids had like a lot of emotional baggage that they were coming into it with, and so there were some pretty crazy times. Yeah.
Yikes. Yeah, I mean, that's probably that's not good.
And then they were getting into like, you know, they hadn't been in camping before sometimes, or they hadn't been in that environment, and so it was just like a lot of stress. But yeah, most of it was really great.
Have you had, I mean, are there times where the kids just, you take them out and send them back home, like it just doesn't work out?
I'm trying to think if I had any evacs like
evacs.
That.
Okay, that's the word I'm looking for.
Yeah, I definitely know people, like my coworkers have had emotional evacs where they just like couldn't handle. Yes, I did have at least one. Yeah. Where it's just like, this person's not stable and we need to get them out of here. Yeah,
for sure. I've thought a lot about that on like Grand Canyon River trips. Right, I did a long like 14-day float trip early on, right after I got out of college, and I was with these people that I didn't think, this was kind of maybe a good primer for like endurance sports and like bikepacking and stuff, because I don't know, I judged all these people at the beginning. I was like, those people probably aren't, they're gonna panic, those people are going to freak out, that person's going to be fine, they look like they're seasoned. And then you get halfway down or 6 days in or whatever, and like, you're totally wrong. Like I was totally wrong. And I was wrong for judging them and like putting them in those boxes to begin with, right? But I always think about that, like in the canyon, like you just don't really have a choice to evac people sometimes. I mean, it's
Yeah,
got to be like really, really serious, right?
totally.
Like an injury or
Yeah,
whatever.
because it's like then, the park is flying in,
Mm-hmm.
and flights are really dangerous. But
Yeah, you're putting a lot of other
yeah,
people's lives at risk
yeah,
and money and time and
yeah.
all
The
this other
canyon's
stuff.
a tough place to evac.
Right. Yeah. So like, and you're now in charge of permitting, right? You said for
Yeah,
that.
yeah,
So there's like this complicated relationship there, probably with the guides, the guide companies.
yeah. We do backpacking permits for commercial guides. I don't have anything to do with the commercial river
Oh,
permits.
okay.
I only do non-commercial
Okay.
river permits. But yeah, I mean, there is a big aspect of my job now that's just like kind of like vetting people in a way, or just giving them like all of the information, all of the safety information, and sometimes trying to convince people to not do things.
Yeah.
Like kind of gauging where they're at and letting them know that it's sometimes not a good idea.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's hard though, because some people rise to the occasion
Oh yeah,
and some
for
people
sure.
crumble.
Right.
And it's all tied into this whole, I mean, just getting off of Pinyons and Pines, it's kind of the same sort of thing, right? You're sending people out on this crazy thing. And
Yeah.
like some people, we try to intentionally put like strategic outs for people.
Right.
Because we know that it's a range of skill sets that we're sending out doing this thing.
Totally.
And we don't want to be responsible for getting people in trouble or
Yeah.
hurt or whatever, right? That's the last thing we want. But we want to provide this experience for people where they have an opportunity to rise to the occasion or not.
Yeah.
And like dig a little deeper within themselves,
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, I saw that in the course this year. It was cool. I feel like we hit all the towns like the second half, and the first half was more remote. And I think
absolutely.
it's smart in the sense of like people are getting more tired, they're getting more fatigued, and they might be more inclined to bail or like need to bail. Yeah.
It was, I mean, we basically I wanted to reverse the course. I wanted to do it the other direction because we just done it we just done it counterclockwise so many times. And last year, did you do it last year?
I did.
Okay.
Yeah, but I didn't finish.
Okay.
I got onto Lake Mary Road.
The 300, right?
With Lee and Curb and Matt, single speeder.
Right.
And yeah, we were like, Curb was gonna hitch a ride back, and then it was dark, it was raining. We had 50 miles of Lake Mary Road to ride before we got back to Flagstaff, and trucks were passing us at like 60 miles an hour.
Yeah.
It's like, I don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So Lee's husband, Matt, just like came and got us and brought us pizza.
Nice.
Got in a van, ate pizza, fell asleep immediately. So
yeah,
no regrets there, honestly. Like
nobody should have regretted anything they did last year.
Yeah.
It was a cluster.
Yeah.
But what do you
I had a great time, honestly. It was really fun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
until I got to Lake Mary Road, and then I was like, I don't want to get hit by a truck.
Yeah.
Which I think is a legit fear.
Yeah, Lake Mary Road's one of the safer roads with the biggest shoulders in Flagstaff.
It is, yeah.
Like I hate road riding and I hate being next to cars, but that's if I'm gonna pick one, that's gonna be the one.
Yeah, for sure. I think my fear with road riding though is not necessarily like, oh, the road is too narrow and I don't fit, which is, I mean, sometimes a concern, but just like the number of people I see on their phones, like looking down, I'm like, it just takes one person looking at their phone while they're passing me, and then I'm dead.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, totally, and that's escalating. Right? The phone usage is escalating. And it's not like, there's this big debate. Okay, so let's dive into this a little bit. So the thing that happened in Flagstaff, I think it was maybe a year ago now.
What, at the intersection?
No. With
Lake Mary Road.
Lake Mary Road.
Yeah.
Yeah, the guy got hit by an RV.
Yes.
He's a good friend. I know him through a general acquaintance. He got hit by the mirror. He got clipped by the mirror. I don't know. Did you see it was caught on? It was like on video.
Yes.
They had the whole thing on video. He got clipped by the mirror, and they were riding in a pack of road riders, and it kind of like threw him off onto the side and made a whole bunch of people other crash. Nobody died, but he got really injured, and he was like 2 inches away from death.
Yeah.
Right. And it kind of created a little bit of controversy. Like the pro bike rights people kind of maybe I think overreacted a little bit. I would say, because like in my opinion, it comes down to, yes, we have a right to be on the road as cyclists, and yes, we have a right to ride whatever too wide or something like that is the law.
On the shoulder.
On the shoulder,
Yeah.
you can ride up to too wide.
Yeah.
I think is the law. However, it's you and a 3,000-pound vehicle that's going 60 miles per hour. It's a death machine.
Yeah.
Right? So like, yeah, you have a right to do it, but is it the gamble you want to make?
Totally. Yeah, no, it is like our responsibility to keep ourselves safe. It's even on my morning commute on the 180, it's like there's greenway the entire time, and if I'm on my cross bike, like all of those bumps are so annoying. They like hurt my hands. So sometimes I choose to go on the shoulder on the highway. But that's a risk I'm taking. It's like I know that it's more dangerous.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I used to commute this every day to work 4 miles, and I used to ride a fixed gear with no brakes.
Yeah.
Know what I mean?
Yeah.
When I was in my 20s.
Right.
Now I'm like
so hip.
Almost 40. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I like was like totally didn't care. I felt like I was invincible.
Yeah.
On a bike, that I would just, if somebody pull out in front of me, I would just do like a move where I could, stop the bike and go over the hood and like roll and be fine. Like I did when I was 9 years old playing soccer.
Right.
And
that was your plan.
Yeah, that was the plan. And I did get hit once in a crosswalk.
Yikes.
And it was kind of like a low speed collision, but it was, I guess, the first little wake up call. I was crossing in a crosswalk, and someone was coming out from the other way and making a right, and I locked eyes with that person, because I like make sure to lock eyes with people before, it's the nonverbal way of communicating. Like, you see me, right?
Yeah.
Locked eyes with them, thought I had it. I kept riding across the crosswalk, and they just kept going.
What?
And they hit me. Yeah.
Wow.
And they were like, I didn't see you. And I'm like, we looked right at each other. And they're like, I'm sorry.
Maybe they just like looked through you.
They did. They didn't. Yeah. They saw me. They looked at me, but they didn't see me.
Yeah.
They were like
they were thinking about something else. Yeah.
Totally. And it wrecked my bike pretty good. I was okay physically. And I actually, there wasn't a citation because I was supposed to be off my bike walking in the crosswalk. I was not allowed. I was actually in the wrong by riding in the crosswalk. It's like
considered the sidewalk?
Yes.
Oh.
So it was kind of bullshit.
That's shitty.
Yeah. But whatever. Insurance covered the bike. I was okay. I didn't have any like long-term injuries.
Yeah.
That I can yet. That stuff sometimes has a tendency of sneaking up on you.
Yeah.
But after that, I kind of was like a little more conservative. And then, I don't know, something happened. I don't know, maybe mid-30s, where I was just like, why am I riding on the highway?
Yeah.
Like there's a path right there. The same path you're talking about.
Yeah.
I don't care about the bumpy bumps. Like,
yeah.
like I'm not going to get hit by a car. It's just not going to, I'm just not going to do it.
Right.
This is a risk calculation, right? The longer I'm out here, the more often I'm out here commuting, the higher my chances are of getting hit by someone.
Yeah.
Right. So how am I going to like minimize that risk to almost none?
Yeah.
Right. So that when I'm out on Lake Mary Road once in 2 years, it's possible, but the probability of something happening is low. It's much higher if I'm commuting every single day and I'm out there for an hour. I don't know. It would be an hour a day, which was 5 hours a week.
For sure.
I've now skyrocketed my probability of getting hit by a car.
Yeah.
So, and then I started working from home, working remote like 4 days a week. And I felt much better about it. I was like, I've put my risk level almost to zero, So, but for me, it's just like, I'm a cyclist. I'm also a driver, and we all have to like exist together in this thing.
Yeah.
Right. And this whole like polarizing aspect that came out of this one crash was kind of ridiculous. I know what they're trying to do. I get it. But I just feel like, I don't know, like, yeah, the guy in the RV definitely could have done something differently. Like, I don't even think they just clipped him with the mirror because they were too wide out.
Oh, I see.
And it crossed over like right.
Yeah.
I think they were actually.
The story that got like blown up on the internet was that like a group of cyclists was bulldozed by an RV.
Right.
That's like what I heard initially, and then I like learned more of the nuance later. But
right.
Yeah.
Everything's like more nuanced.
Yeah.
Right. Almost everything. And so I think that that's really important when you're talking about these things is I'm not disparaging the guy that got hit. Like, he's a really great guy, and he's a really good friend. And like, it was horrible what happened to him.
Yeah.
But then it just like exploded into this other thing, of like just people fighting and bickering
Totally.
about it,
Yeah.
And it's, I don't know. It just, that kind of thing bothers me.
I feel like if we can just tackle the bike thing on more of an infrastructure level, like just put in more guarded bike lanes or like to have more accessible greenways,
Yeah.
or like stoplights when they're necessary.
Yeah.
The worst part of my commute is Route 66 in Thompson. Super busy. It's like such a busy intersection. People are going, the speed limit's 40 there. And trying to cross is like very scary.
Yeah.
A bunch of pedestrians have been hit there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. You just
like I almost feel safer on my bike because I can at least get across fast. But I think people, like a lot of people, live in that neighborhood right behind the Maverick, and they have to cross the street, and there's not a stop sign or a stoplight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I think we just need to practice defensive bicycling.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
Like, and don't think you're in the right. Even though you might be in the right sometimes, you're the one that's going to die.
Yeah. Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, for me, it just like, I might feel justified in that this is the law, but like, you're the one that's going to die.
Right.
So I don't know, defensive bicycling, and like on Pinyons, I said, be careful in these areas, because there was some pretty high traffic in some of the spots. Days that
going into Camp Verde was busy.
Yeah, that Fossil Creek section.
Well, yeah, that wasn't too bad for me actually, but once I got on the highway, the 260.
Oh yeah. Right, on the pavement.
Yeah, because I was there in the middle of the day.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
Yeah. You came up like,
I was just behind you a little ways, I think.
Yeah. So like in the afternoon.
I was most freaked out about the Fossil Creek climb because you have passenger cars going way too fast on washboarded gravel roads, on tricky turns,
and like blind corners.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I had a couple people that were just, they didn't even, like, it was like they didn't even see me, and they were going way too fast, and they were cutting corners in.
Yeah.
And it was freaking scary.
Yeah, it was scary.
And I was more like freaked out about that bit than I was. Plus, it was like I was roasting. It was like 100,000 degrees.
It was really
like
hot.
Garmin said, like 115.
Yeah, it was super hot.
I know it wasn't one. It was probably like more like 100 in reality, but it was like roasting.
Yeah,
and so
I realized
just, like,
I was gonna
pissed.
do that in the heat of the day, like at some point the day prior, and I was just like, shit, like it's gonna be so hot. But I honestly struggled more on Mingus than I did on Fossil Creek.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have to ask you about this.
Okay.
So I read the town bicycle article.
Uh-huh.
And I think you sent some. They did a recap of some of the it's like the dots.
Yep. Faces behind the dots.
Faces behind the dots.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you said, low point, rationing my water up Mingus in 100-degree temps while I distracted myself with an audiobook about dragons.
That's correct.
So I wanted you to elaborate.
I got
a
like
bit
3
about
hours done on that book. It's like 20-hour book or something. It's the Fourth Wing trilogy.
Okay.
No, it's not a trilogy yet. Series, I guess. What is the second book called? Iron Flame. Yeah.
Okay. It's like a fantasy.
It's a fantasy book.
Okay.
Yeah.
You're...
It's a great distraction.
Nice.
Yeah. Not high quality at all, really. But,
Yeah.
I was taken out of the pain and into the world of dragons and magic.
Nice. So
Yeah.
I love fantasy
Yeah.
too. I'm like a big sci-fi guy. My wife hates sci-fi, so it's a point of contention around the house. But
Okay.
I'm like down with fantasy and sci-fi. I know they're probably two different things, right? Do fantasy people?
Yeah, I mean,
is there like
I'm not against sci-fi. I just
okay?
kind of
There's a little crossover in the middle.
I think just like it's supernatural, whatever. Yeah.
Okay. Because I can
think
kinda...
fantasy probably is more like magic and dragons.
Like on the nose, it's like Lord of the Rings.
Yeah, totally.
Right.
Yeah.
But then there's like all
offshoots,
this underground.
Yeah.
Yeah, like hardcore.
Lord of the Rings is like the bread and butter.
Mainstream.
Yeah.
Right.
The
Yeah.
root of it all.
Right.
Yeah.
So anyway, roasting alive up
Yeah.
Mingus.
Yeah.
So you ran out of water.
I didn't run out of water. I didn't want to carry a lot of water, and I had ridden Mingus, or like I had done the Cherry Creek Road climb, because I had never done it before. So I did it in like, I think early April or mid-April. I wanted to go check it out, and so I parked at that gas station right across the highway from Cherry Creek Road. I think it's a Conoco or something.
Yep.
And it was a day when there was like a huge thunderstorm, and so it was like overcast, and my bike wasn't loaded, and like I like zoomed right up there, you know. I was like, oh, this is chill. Like Cherry Creek Road is pretty, it's like, you know, evenly graded. It's nice. And I didn't do the whole climb. Like I didn't do the traversy bit that's really tough at the top because a huge thunderstorm came in, and I was like literally scared for my life. There was like, I was in that exposed section of Cherry Creek Road, and like there were like lightning bolts striking around me. So I like hightailed it down, and I had gotten to the top because I was trying to make a loop out of it and like go up and then go down, and then kind of like I'd found like some dirt roads that would connect instead of taking the highway.
Yeah.
So that was my plan, but then the storm came in, I hit death mud, I turned around immediately, and luckily it's like mostly sandy soil on the way down, so I didn't have to deal with the, you know, the clay soil death mud as much on the way down, but it was a little scary. But yeah, no heat on that day.
Yeah.
I didn't know how long it would take in the heat and just like being fatigued. And so
what time did you leave like that gas station?
Yeah, I had kind of a weird experience in Camp Verde in general. Like I think I rolled into town at like 1, I want to say, sometime around then.
Okay.
And then I went to Filiberto's. This is kind of a long story. Essentially I had lost my credit card.
Okay.
And I got, okay, so I'll start from the beginning.
Yeah.
Coming down the military sinkhole trail. Or I think it was at the very bottom. I like stopped to get my inReach out to check the battery, and it was in the same pocket as my credit card and insurance card, and I had a $20 bill. I don't really know why I didn't put the $20 bill somewhere else. Like I had the $20 bill as like a backup. Mm-hmm. So
like in your sock or something?
Yeah, totally.
Like I used to do in Mexico.
Exactly.
Yeah. Redundancy in a different place.
Right. No, I just put it all together, and then I realized I like rolled out of there. My pocket was unzipped, and the inReach stayed in, thankfully. I like Sarah Didier.
Yeah, Didier.
Yeah. She rolled up behind me. We like rode that pavement section together through Christopher Creek, and then like started up the climb, and you know, we passed East Tonto Creek, and I needed to fill up water, so she went on her way, and when I filled up water, I noticed the pocket was unzipped and I had lost everything. So I was like beating myself up a little bit in my head, like shit. Like I had planned to download Apple Pay before I left because I was like, I need another backup.
Right.
But I didn't do it. So my plan was to get to Pine and download Apple Pay and see if anyone in Pine took it, like if they took it at the market. But I did have enough food to get me to Camp Verde at that point.
Yeah.
So I was like, there's going to be somewhere in Camp Verde that will take Apple Pay.
Pine Market took Apple Pay. I used
it.
Oh,
they did?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. I know a lot of places do.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
it's
I was like,
pretty prevalent now.
Right. And now I have it on my phone. I downloaded it like immediately after the race.
Yeah.
But I was just kind of like, oh shit, I don't want to have to deal with that. And then I ended up running into Sarah again on the AZT the next morning.
Yeah.
And I told her what happened. I was like, yeah, so I'm going to get to Pine, download Apple Pay. She's like, I have an extra $40 cash. You should just take it. And then you won't have to deal with that. And I was like, okay, thanks. Like, I'll Venmo you.
Yeah.
So because it really wouldn't have been that long to download Apple Pay, but because I didn't feel like doing it, I was like trying to make all my resupplies on $40 cash. Yeah. So I had 4 more resupply, like 4 stops. And I was like, I'm going to spend $10 per stop. So I went to Filiberto's and I was like, I can afford the junior burrito. And they said bean and cheese on the menu Turns out cheese was extra. So I just got, it was literally a tortilla with like full of fried beans. Like that was it.
For like $9 or whatever.
It was $6.
That
So,
sucks.
I mean, it was still like real food, but it was a little underwhelming. And then I
they have free chips there though.
They were pretty nasty. I don't know.
Okay.
In my opinion, they tasted like old oil to me.
Yeah.
So you're like, whatever, they were carbs. Yeah, and I put this like really spicy salsa on it. I didn't realize how spicy it was gonna be, so like my mouth was like on fire. But I carried it, and I also like thought it was closer to Cherry Creek Road than it was, so I just carried it in my hand, like on that stretch of road, the little paper sack. I went to the gas station, like re-upped on gummies, because my stomach was like a little weird on Pinyons, I think maybe because of the heat.
Yeah.
So I was eating like mostly gummies during the day, just kind of in general. But they have a hose outside the Conoco.
Oh.
I realized when I did my little like pre-ride of Cherry Creek Road in April, because I had to hose my bike down at the end. And so I just totally drenched myself like head to toe. My shoes and socks were like sopping wet, which I was not thrilled about, but they did end up drying. I like totally dried out except for my sports bra within like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
But I think that helped.
Yeah.
On the climb.
Did you hear what happened to Sarah Didier on that climb?
On the Mingus climb?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we met up for breakfast after she got back, and we like rehashed kind of our whole experiences after we parted ways. But
okay.
Yeah, it sounded pretty crazy with her Garmin.
Just heard the rumors. How did she nav that far off?
Her Garmin like told her to go in a different direction.
Okay.
It like she was having some issues because she had like gotten a hotel room, and then she had issues with the screen freezing, which I've had with my Garmin too.
Mm-hmm.
I've known a couple people who have had that happen. And then it like finally started working, but it told her to go down this other Jeep road. So she like went down to almost all the way back to the highway, but like in a different direction, and then climbed back up, and then like totally cruised. She's very fast.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was kind of in between both of you then at that point, because I passed her on the Fossil Creek climb.
Yeah.
And you were probably at that point starting up the Mingus climb.
Uh-huh.
So, and then because she stayed for a while in Camp Verde.
Yeah.
But so on the Garmin, I think, so I loaded the full track with all the points on my 1040, and it was having trouble loading the elevation profiles.
Huh.
So I ended up doing the 10K version.
Okay.
The less than 10K points version, which we emailed out like a week out or something,
Okay.
which usually you have to use for your E-Treks
right.
or lower because it only handles up to 10,000 points.
Yeah.
So, and I wasn't getting nearly the kind of like delay and lag. I think it's just so many points on some of these. Like I wonder what people do for the full Arizona Trail 800.
Yeah.
Because there's so many points on that.
Totally.
And I know John releases a under 10K version for E-Treks people.
Yeah.
So, but I ended up with the E-Treks the under 10K version on my Garmin because I was like, I'm like,
you're cautious,
freaked out about it. Yeah, I don't need all those points, especially on something like this where there was a lot of just like road stuff that is really self-explanatory, So I wonder what happened.
Well, and I think it also just helps like being a local and knowing Mingus, you go up, and then you go down, down, down. Like you should not be going down initially. Yeah.
Yeah, totally.
But like not being from here, it like is, I think, a disadvantage in some ways.
Sure.
Yeah.
Right. So, but like I've gone to do Stagecoach 400. Yeah. And I had no idea any of this, I was just like following. I had no clue where anything was. And I was still on an E-Trex at that point. So you have to like, you don't have turn by turn. So you have to like wake it up every time you think you're on route or off route, which was pretty annoying.
Right.
But I mean, that's just part of the deal, right? Like that's part of the navigation challenges, right? Yeah. If you're a local, you definitely have an advantage.
For sure.
So, see, I had a really good time on that climb.
On the Mingus climb?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was good. I was good.
That's good.
Cause I waited at McDonald's.
What time did you do the climb?
like 4 o'clock.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. I ended up taking a nap.
Okay.
I took a nap sometime around 4, like under a bush, because it was just like, it was so inefficient.
Yeah.
I was going so slow and I felt awful. So I was like, I'm just going to like nap, take a cat nap and let the sun go down a little bit.
How much total sleep did you get throughout the entire course?
I think like 2 hours.
Holy shit.
Yeah. I slept for like 30 minutes at the Highline Trailhead. Cause I was there at maybe like 3:30, 4 a.m. and I wanted to like ride it in the light and I wanted my brain to feel better. So I was like, I'm going to take a nap, and it worked. I had a lot of fun on that trail. And then I took another nap on Mingus for like 20 minutes. And then the last night I tried to sleep for like 2 hours, but I was pretty close I pulled off on Limekiln, like pretty close to the highway. And there were all these cars that kept going by, like without mufflers and like revving their engines. So it was like, it was like, it's classic.
Themselves a race.
Yeah. Classic Cottonwood, Arizona. So yeah, I kept getting woken up from that, and eventually just like got up and left.
That was the other thing you said on the town bicycle thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that you had disturbed sleep on that last night.
Yeah, but I mean,
that sucks.
I wanted to stop there because the further you go on Limekiln, the more like brushy it gets. It's like all grassy and stuff. So I was like, this is nice. It's open. It's rocky.
Mm-hmm.
It was a great spot to lay down, but
yeah,
it was just a little loud.
What was your kind of favorite section of the whole course?
Oh,
if you had to pick one.
I love the Highline AZT section.
Though.
It's so
the
cool.
West side, right?
Yeah, like being able to like look up at the rim and then just like the red rocks, the views, really fun trail. And then I really like the Schnebley climb. I mean, it's not like amazing riding, but it's really pretty, just like coming out of Sedona.
Absolutely.
And I hit it early in the morning and I saw no Jeeps, which was a treat.
Nice.
Yeah.
It was a super highway when I was there.
Yeah.
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 But
it's a bummer.
Whatever.
Yeah. It's like you're almost done at that point.
Yeah. I was just,
route.
it was kind of the last big climb, you know?
Yeah.
And then I knew pretty much it was pretty mellow riding after that.
Right.
You know, nothing too crazy till, well, the sandy bit at the end that, I don't know, I blame that one on Dana.
I didn't mind the sand. There were a bunch of OHVs when I went through that area though, and that was like not my favorite, but it's okay.
Yeah. What was the part that you disliked the most?
Probably like the highway into Camp Verde. I don't like roads. Yeah. And I hit it at a busy time, but
that's a scary highway.
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of other ways to connect.
And I like Fossil Creek Road. It's just super washboardy. So gravel and road is hard for me. I think like the trail keeps me super engaged, even if I like don't feel great. Like even if I'm tired or like I have a saddle sore or whatever, like if I'm riding trail, I feel like I don't think about that as much. But on a gravel road or like a pavement road, there's nothing to distract me or like keep me as engaged. So it's easier to get negative.
Totally.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. Like, yeah, totally. I was just saying this the other day on a podcast, like the engaging riding, the hours just go by.
Yeah.
Like the single track riding.
Even if there's hike-a-bike, like I like hike-a-bike.
Hike-a-bike's engaging.
Yeah.
You have to like make all these mini decisions.
Right. And I like, you get off the bike, you like get out of the saddle for a little bit.
Yeah. That's a bonus too.
Yeah.
You get a change in your environment and your legs and stuff. And for sure. Yeah. And just those long, straight, like Verde Valley Randonnée has got a bit of that. Just long, boring. Some people love that. Though.
Well, I haven't really figured out like my shorts/pants saddle combo that's going to work for me.
Okay.
I keep getting saddle sores. I've tried chamois. I've tried no chamois. I've tried different like wool boxers, just shorts, like different saddle types, and I have not figured it out yet. And so I'm still in that process of figuring something out that will not give me saddle sores. And it's just gravel is like, it makes it so much worse.
Yeah.
Than single track.
Yeah.
Yeah.
hey, I'm in the same process right now too.
Yeah.
I got 2 pairs of shorts in there that just came in that I'm gonna try.
Yeah.
And I've been doing this for like 6 years now, you know, which isn't like very long, but like I'm still like, my point is it's like, I don't know, I thought I had it figured out and then I didn't.
Totally.
But yeah, and there is a difference, and Dana is very like, some people say there's one way, that's the only way, but it's not. It's personalized, it's individualized.
Yeah.
Some people get saddle sores. I think that the big difference is you get saddle sores are different from like chafing. Those are like 2 different things.
Yeah.
Right? Saddle sores are from bacteria that basically staph.
Yeah.
That go into like a wound and it becomes like kind of like a boil.
Yeah.
Right? So it's bacteria based mostly. And I think your little look on your face.
Well, I'm just trying to like analyze what you're saying, like figure out what I have.
It's like looks like a pimple.
Yes. Yep.
That's a saddle sore.
Yes.
Right? And that's a
what I get.
bacterial thing.
Yeah.
Right? Versus like, and see, I don't get those, but I get the chafing really bad. So I get like raw sections.
Okay. Yeah. So it's
right?
actually like a rubbing problem.
Yes.
Yeah.
So it could be a combination of any of those. This is all like depends on
Well,
your saddle and
yeah.
and your own personal body skin type and how much you can how much standing you do and sitting you do, and I mean there's all these variables, right?
And I have in the past gotten almost like pressure sores, like a deep tissue wound.
Yeah,
that took a long time to heal. Like it was like,
I think that's
yeah.
like a saddle sore.
Yeah.
And that might like, there are cases where it can go under the skin.
Yeah.
And become like a cyst almost.
Yeah.
That's under the skin. And that's something you'd have to get like a doctor, you know, probably
Yeah.
would have to drain it or whatever. But
yeah, mine was not that bad, but it was.
I've heard of
Yeah.
this, right? So I don't know. You know, it's an ongoing process. I think the one key thing to do is make sure you're measuring your sit bones and you're getting a saddle that's appropriate to the width of your sit bones.
Yeah, I did like the cardboard thing.
Yeah.
With my current saddle, but it's just, I don't know. On day rides, like even long day rides, the saddle's great. I rode it on the Arizona Trail 300 tour I did with Sarah Higgins this past March, and it was fine. Like it was totally fine, but we were out of the saddle a lot. We were taking breaks.
Yeah.
You know, like it's
a lot of
just
hiking too.
Yeah. Yeah, different.
Yep. I had less saddle sores on the Arizona Trail 300 or saddle chafing than I did on Pinyons and Pines this year.
Yeah.
Just because of all the seated pedaling.
Yeah.
You know? I don't know. I wish someone could figure it out.
I know. I need I need a rule book.
It's part of it.
Playbook. Yeah.
Part of the process, right? And there's no magic solution for it.
For sure.
So, yeah. So you ended up coming in for back to Pinyons. You ended up doing quite well. Like you were, what placement did you get?
I think 8th overall.
Yeah. So it's awesome. Yeah.
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 I was stoked.
So congratulations.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was kind of an experiment for me with the sleep thing, because like I've always brought a sleep kit. I mean, that was my 3rd bikepacking race. And the 2 prior, like the CTR and then Pinyons the year before, I brought a full sleep kit. And this time around I brought like one tiny foam pad for my hips and a e-bivy puffy jacket. I brought a beanie and gloves. Like I had warm clothes to put on because I'm pretty scared of being cold.
Mm-hmm.
And I wore them. Like I wore my beanie and my puffy jacket when I was napping at nighttime, but I never got my e-bivy out. The sleeping thing, it's tricky. Like I definitely felt weaker, especially like the second day after not having slept very much. Like I was just not riding as hard, and it was like a struggle to have fun, you know? Like once I got on the single track, I was fine, but like the gravel was like, it's kind of rough.
Mm-hmm.
It was harder to stay positive with the sleep deprivation. And I think it's like, yeah, like it does take a lot of time to sleep, and the naps, they've helped me feel pretty refreshed. But I think in hindsight, like a little bit more sleep probably would have been a good idea. That's my assessment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For what you wanted.
Yeah.
Right.
For sure.
Your goals.
Yeah.
Right. So are your goals to, what is your goal? Is your goal top 5? Was, like, cause you have to, my goal was top 10. I got part the way into the first night and I was like, I don't really care that much.
Yeah.
I'm going to sleep 4 hours.
Right.
So that just overtook me.
Yeah.
Right. And then I was like, whatever. My new goal is now Yeah, I hadn't thought all year about trying to get top 10 in Pinyons.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like put in long days, and I had a better full sleep kit.
Yeah.
That when you commit to that light of a kit,
Totally.
like, tell me about
Yeah.
that moment, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I was like, I think that was part of my experiment. I was like, well, because my bike is not particularly light. It's not heavy, but it is a trail bike. It's like 30 pounds or something. And, you know, starting off, we didn't have that great of resupplies at the beginning. So I was carrying quite a bit of food. And I was like, I just don't, like, if I'm really going to try this whole like nap thing, then then I'm just gonna like forgo the sleeping bag, and like I will have enough to, you know, like I still thought about like, okay, well, what if I sprain my ankle? What if, you know, I get a huge mechanical and I can't move like either at all or very fast, and I'm like in a remote section like the rim road or on military sinkhole or something? Because I think that's something I always want to be prepared for, is like if things go really south, like can I survive to get help? And I think like I had enough to do that. I had enough warm stuff, but I didn't have enough warm stuff to like get a full night's sleep.
Yeah.
I think.
That's a good balance.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yeah. So, but I did, yeah, it did kind of force me to like commit to the naps.
Yeah.
And like actually give it a go. And now I know. Like now I know what it's like.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, the having the sleeping bag, it was like it definitely drew me in. You know, it was like, oh,
yeah.
and a pad.
Totally.
I was like, oh.
No, I remember on the CTR, like I would be riding in the night, and that's on the CTR was like before I started riding with, I rode with my prescription glasses on Pinyons this time around, and it's like so night and day.
Really?
You know?
Yeah.
Pun intended.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like I just couldn't see very well on the CTR at nighttime, and it was such a struggle. I was so tired, and I would just like dream about getting in my sleeping bag and be like, okay, 2 more hours and then I'm going to get in the bag. It was very enticing, and it was cold. So
did you have a lot of rain on CTR?
I got pretty lucky. I rode in the rain in the daytime. And it was in like the thunderstorms that I got were on parts of the course that like I did not feel were dangerous, like below tree line, basically. We got a storm. There was a big storm right when I descended the high point, Coney Summit. So I was like descending with this other guy. I don't remember his name. And there were like huge ominous clouds. We could like see lightning coming. And I was pretty nervous, you know, at the high point. I was like, oh, I got to get moving. But yeah, we made it down below tree line and back to the highway, and then it started dumping on us.
Which direction did you go on the course?
This past year was Durango to Denver.
Okay.
Yeah.
So northeast bound.
Yeah.
Yeah.
A lot of people got held up by that storm because it's 30 miles above tree line, that section, and it takes like 12 hours. It takes a long time. So I didn't sleep very much the first night kind of because of that. I like made it to Stony Pass Road that first night and like set out my stuff. You know, I blew up my sleeping pad and everything, and I was intending to sleep like 2 to 3 hours because I wanted to get up and get going. I had looked at the forecast and knew a storm was coming, so I wanted to just like try to get through before the storm. And I set up my stuff, and there were like earwigs everywhere. I didn't realize till I laid down. It was so nasty. So I like dragged my whole sleep kit like up the hill to a place without earwigs.
Oh, you were in like a earwig colony?
Yeah.
In the middle of, that's
they're so nasty. Yeah.
Did you have a bivvy that you could get in?
Yeah.
To close up?
Not one that I had a sole bivvy. So I brought a inflatable pad, a sleeping bag, a sole bivvy, and a tarp.
Okay.
Yeah. And I never used the tarp because it never rained on me at night. But I would use the sole bivvy.
Was it like a sil poly tarp? Like a...
Yeah.
Like a 6x9 or something?
Yeah, like sil nylon. I think it's
sil nylon.
Slingfin is the brand. Yeah.
Did it have a pole?
Yes, I borrowed one.
Okay.
I still need to get one, but you could set it up like with your bike and just like
stake
out the 4 corners.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That seems to be the nice balance with weather is the tarp.
Yeah.
I kind of take all my
It's
cues
very
from,
small. Like it packs down pretty light.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I have a 6x9 sill poly that's very small
Yeah.
and a single carbon pole. And I think that's going to be, I was on the fence for a tent or no
Yeah.
tent. And I think I'm established with the tarp.
Yeah. I think the tarp it'll be good.
I've just been, and I've talked about this ad
Are you going to
nauseam.
bring an emergency bivy too, or just the tarp?
I have a Bora Gear bivy coming in
Yeah.
that is not weatherproof,
Right.
but it is enclosed.
Okay.
It does have like a screen mesh,
Yeah.
and it's only like 4 ounces.
Yeah. That's good.
So it's a little bit more comfortable than the Soul
Yeah.
bivy is. It's a little tight.
It's
Soul
tight,
bivvies
yeah.
are tight,
Yeah.
and they don't have a screen mesh.
Yeah.
I've
They're
heard,
not protective. And I had one experience on the tour I did with Sarah on the AZT.
Yeah.
It was not forecasted to rain, and then it rained on us the entire last night. And I just like literally my sleeping bag was like I could wring it out. It was sopping wet.
Terrible.
Yeah.
This was what, near
It was at the picket post.
Martinez Canyon?
Yeah, we were like at the Gila, basically like camped somewhere, and it poured rain on us the whole night. She was in a OR like helium bivvy, so she had like the face cover, but hers was not waterproof either.
I've had that soak through on me, the
Yeah.
OR helium.
Yeah,
I've had it soaked through at the feet.
She was getting like the outside of her bag was getting wet, but she was still dry in the bag. Whereas me, like I felt the puddle like coming in, and then like eventually I was just wet in the bag, and like it was like 3 a.m. or something, and I was trying to like wait it out, and then at some point I was like, Sarah, like I'm leaving, and you can come with me or not. It was a rough morning, like lots of death mud. Her drivetrain got like totally coated. We had to like break her chain, and then we were trying to like get more water so that we could like splash it on our drivetrains. And there was not a good access point to the Gila, so we like, we're like in the dark on Gaia trying to like find a spot down. Yeah. It was
I mean, that's that spot right there is there's all these bushes. Like
yeah.
it's thick with bushes, and you cannot get through it.
Yeah.
There's the little road that's like very confusing and dipped and sandy. You know what I'm talking about?
I don't know. It was like totally dark.
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Because I've had a similar experience. I toured the 300 in March of 2020, and I was right there in that same spot you're talking about. Well, I was at the ADOT yard, and I was getting water.
Yeah.
And they said, there's a storm coming. And I'm like,
yeah.
I'm a bike packer. I'll be fine. Right?
Yeah.
And they're like, it's a pretty big storm, but okay. And so I do that stretch. The stretch, it takes forever to get to the turn to go up.
Yeah.
That's an underestimate. I underestimate how long that stretch is.
Yeah, it's a lot of up and down.
Yeah, so I get like halfway on it, and it just the sky opens up, and it's just crazy. And there's like a little cave. There's like a little cave thing. You know what I'm talking about?
No, I don't know.
And I it's a nice cave, and
Yeah.
I was like, I'm gonna crawl in there for a little while. And I did, and then I was like, fine, I'll just keep going. And I got to that spot right there where it turns at the Gila.
Yeah.
And but I had a tent.
Oh, that's nice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there was like rivers of water running underneath my tent.
Oh my God.
And I could see it in the bed of the
Yeah.
tent, like the water running on
Yeah.
each side of it. And I was so thankful I had a tent.
Yeah,
But,
that's awesome.
So I'm thinking back to that, thinking forward to CTR. I'm thinking back to that.
Totally. Well, and I know like in previous years that have been really wet, it can be intense, and I do not do well in the wet and cold. I have like some cold injury in my hands and feet from guiding. And yeah, so I don't love to skimp on the warm gear.
What happened? Guiding injured.
So I have chilblains. It's like basically just like non-freezing temperatures that like my hands and feet were very wet and like cold but not freezing for extended periods of time. So like I guided a couple trips in Alaska that were long trips, and we would just hike in wet boots all day, like walking in and out of glacial streams and rivers. And so it was like, 40-degree water, or like really cold water in my boots all day, and then same deal in my hands. So in the wintertime, if they get cold and then they warm back up, sometimes I'll get like a couple of digits that'll just like swell up and be like really itchy and painful. And then they just like, my hands don't work very well in the cold. Like my dexterity, I know that happens to everyone, but like my dexterity on that Mingus ride I did when it got like really rainy and stormy, like I had to like shift with my fist because my thumb dexterity, like just, it wasn't working.
Yeah.
And then I have some like, I've gotten some kind of like mild carpal tunnel, like nerve stuff going on from the endurance cycling that I'm trying to be proactive about, but it's tough.
Yeah.
And that, I think the two problems together kind of like, yeah, my hands are not happy in the cold and wet.
Yeah.
But it's just, I'm not going to stop doing what I'm doing.
It's called getting older.
I love, yeah, it could be that too.
Also.
Paddling gloves, I've discovered, are really awesome for cold and wet.
Okay.
Because like the shells, I don't know, I only have mitten shells, which are not great for biking. And then they're like bulkier, but the paddling gloves, it's like they have the grippies on them because of, people want to hold their paddle.
Yeah.
And your hands stay warm. Like they're
they
wet.
Like
but
neaterine or something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So they're like
the thin
wetsuit material.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The thin neoprene gloves.
Yeah. So what about the feet though? Waterproof socks?
I have heard about those. I've actually like heard you talk about them on the podcast before. I'm like, I got to try those. I've never tried them. So yeah, the feet, I'm just kind of like, I always bring an extra pair of socks, but I don't always know what to do about that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thankful for the waterproof socks.
Yeah.
On Stagecoach was the first time I really tried them, and that was a very, very wet year. And then in Iceland, they were like critical.
Yeah.
The only problem with them is they don't really let your feet breathe.
Right.
There's like, with all of this.
Do your feet still get wet? Not really? Or?
I think it's just sweat, kind of.
Okay.
I think.
They're like damp, but not.
Yeah.
Okay.
But you can go through like full streams as long as it doesn't crest the top of the sock.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
They're good. Yeah. Now in Iceland towards the end of the 4 days, my feet got really cold. And I think that was just from.
And they like fit fine in cycling shoes. Like they're not like bulky. Okay.
Yeah, I'll show them to you when we're done. I mean, they were like $20 on Amazon.
Cool.
Like cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like off name brand.
That would be potentially huge for me. So
try them.
Yeah.
Check your shit.
Yeah.
Like
yeah, for sure.
Like go out and like
go in a monsoon.
Go in like go find a river and go cross it and test it out and try it and see how it holds up. But
hop in Schultz Creek up there.
Yeah, it's still running.
Yeah.
You got another month or whatever. So yeah, they're definitely going with me on CTR for sure. Probably 2 pairs.
Yeah.
I'll probably do 2 pairs and be able to rotate them.
Yeah.
And I didn't mind on Stagecoach. I didn't mind riding them normally. I just left them on when I got into the desert. I didn't change. I just left them on. I was like, they seem to be okay.
Right.
So, and my feet didn't really get like nasty or like wrinkly or whatever, or like it didn't look like it was negatively affecting my feet.
Cool.
So I don't know.
That's
try them.
sweet.
Yeah, it might help. It may keep things a little warmer too. So CTR was your first full bikepacking trip.
Yes.
And you completed it in 5 days, 23 hours.
Yes.
I don't have any minutes here.
Something like that. It was like a few more minutes, like 5 minutes or something like that.
And I mean, that's so impressive. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Your first. Yeah, it's so impressive. Like my goal is 6 days.
Yeah. 6 days was like my super goal.
Okay.
So I was like, it was a really fast field out there for the femme-bodied folks. And I was kind of just trying to keep up with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that helped, yeah. I had toured it the year before in the opposite direction.
Okay.
Yeah. Which we did it in 12 days. So much slower pace, but I knew what the terrain was like. I knew what to expect, which I think helped a lot.
If you could pick a direction.
Oh man, it's tough because I've like toured it in one direction and then raced it in the other direction.
Yeah, it's a different
so I'm
experience.
like, well, it like felt harder going Durango to Denver, but that's because I was like not sleeping as much and like pushing way higher mileage. And
Right.
so I don't really know. Like, I think touring, I would definitely do it Denver to Durango because you're kind of like working up to like the harder, more exposed stuff at the end.
Okay.
So you like give your body some time to adjust to that. I don't know. I'm curious
okay.
to like race it in
Yeah.
the other direction and see how it goes.
You can say invalid question.
Invalid question. I did
get-
get pretty rocked at the end by the last bit of single track, like climbing out of the South Platte. I was on the struggle bus at the end of the CTR, like for many reasons. And those last miles are technical, and it had just rained. Everything was so wet, like just really slippery. And so I was walking a lot. My legs I had like major swelling issues in my legs. I need to like figure out that for this year. Like I might try to do compression tights or something, but my legs were like at least 25% larger than normal.
Yikes.
Yeah, like very, very firm and puffy, like balloon status. And
When did that set in? How many days
it
in?
started, I think, on day 3, but it just got worse and worse. And it kind of looked like I had like a rash almost, and it was freaking me out. And, you know, by the end, I was like pretty sleep deprived. All of my electronics were dying. So like my inReach was at 10%. My phone was at 5%. My Garmin was dying because I had a pretty big battery bank, but I hadn't charged it anywhere or charged any of my stuff anywhere. And I realized that my battery bank was drained, like just outside of Breckenridge. I called like my partner Ray and Lee to like get some advice on what to do, and like essentially just like decided to keep going and put my inReach on battery save mode, so like it pinged me every 1 hour instead of every 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And I turned my GPS off until the detour, because there was still like the Lost Creek detour that I didn't know where to go for that one. And I didn't have any maps. And my phone was also dying.
And we're back.
All right. Yeah.
So your electronics were self-destructing across the board.
They were. And then so like I was worried about that. You know, I was worried that like my inReach would die and my cell phone would die, and I had compartment syndrome, and like I wouldn't be able to call for help. And so I was like stopping to like put my legs up trees to like help combat the swelling, which I don't know if it was doing anything. I like called Ray from the top of a ridge where I got cell service and like asked them to look up compartment syndrome to see if I had it.
What is
compartment syndrome? Is like where there's so much swelling in the tissue that you can like completely lose blood flow and like sometimes lose a limb from that reason. Like a lot of times people will have it from as like secondary to an acute injury because there's so much swelling happening that it like cuts off blood flow.
Yeah.
Which I think that you probably could. It could progress to that if you like kept pushing through that much swelling. But it was not at that point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you were kind of spinning up in your own head a little.
Yeah. I was
out.
like, I was wigging.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, you know, I just kind of like, I was like, well, there's only one option, which is for me to get to the trailhead. And then I roll up at like 3 a.m. My phone was essentially dead. Like I was planning on staying at a friend's house who lived in downtown Denver, but like she was out of town for a wedding. Like I didn't really anticipate finishing that fast. And so, I just camped at the trailhead, like rolled out my bivvy. My tarp kept like blowing down on me because it was super windy. And then like at some point, a little while later, like in the wee hours of the morning, Karen Pocock rolls in and someone was picking her up, and I was like, Karen, like what do I do about my legs, my swollen legs? She's like, get compression tights. I'm like, I just don't have that right now. And she's like, all right, bye. I'm going to go sleep, you know? Like, I was like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then woke up to a city park ranger essentially just like asking me what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And then I explained, you know, like, oh, I was on a bike trip and all of my electronics died. I need to get to my friend's house, but I have no way to like contact them. So I just slept here. And they're like, okay, well, there's a Safeway, you know, a third of a mile away. You can go there. You can charge your phone. So that's what I did. And then Sarah Higgins, who had also done the CTR, she scratched at Twin Lakes, but she came and met me at the trailhead, and we like watched some people finish that day, and she was able to give me a ride back to my friend's house.
Cool.
Yeah, so it worked out.
So
yeah,
this electronics thing.
Yeah, it's tough.
Okay, 5 years ago, 3 years ago, before all the rechargeable technology started really becoming prevalent, it was all like batteries.
Yeah.
I still have a Spot that is battery operated for lithiums, and it lasts like 2 weeks.
Yeah, I've heard that spot trackers are great for that reason, because it's
great.
like they like last forever.
Yeah.
I just like already had an InReach from like, I was gifted it, and
yeah, so that's hard to go away from that, right?
Yeah.
If you
and it's
got
nice
it for free.
It's nice for texting, like sending a check-in text or whatever, like on a personal trip. It's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you can send customized messages, right?
I have like preset texts.
Okay.
So I can send like, usually the one I send is like, made it to camp, all good.
That's how the Spot is.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Cool.
My Gen 4.
Yeah.
Which is like 10 years old.
Yeah.
You set them up online first, and then there's like 3 buttons, and one of the buttons is a check-in button.
That's like essentially what I use my InReach for.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it could be nice to go in that direction. It's just that I already have an InReach, so.
Totally. Yeah, I'm just, generally speaking, there's now prevalence with battery technology going into derailleurs with the Axis.
Yeah.
And I had Axis on my Ripley, and I went away from it on the Epic Evo.
Yeah.
On purpose.
It's like one more thing to charge.
One more thing to deal with.
Yeah.
Right? And I'm just, one more thing that could possibly fail, and we've now seen, it's been a couple years, and we've seen it fail multiple times on multiple high-profile races.
Yeah.
Tour Divide, it failed on 2 years ago, I think. One of the guys, I forget his name, there was like 3 in the front of the pack, like 3 Europeans.
Oh, okay.
One of them, battery died. It just quit shifting. He had to go off into a town. Dana on Stagecoach, it died 30 miles from the finish.
Yikes.
No shifting.
Yeah.
And it's just, it all seems to be like water related. Water just, it's just water and electronics don't go well together, right? Yeah. And so now you're putting a fundamental piece of gear that is, I don't know, pretty important for riding and finishing.
Yeah.
And it's like down there where stuff gets wet and everything gets beat up.
Yeah. I don't trust it really. I mean, I do, I guess, like, it's very like advanced technology, but it's like, it's expensive, and bikes are already expensive, and I'm like, I've had my fair share of electronic woes, so I don't feel like I need to add in more electronics.
Yeah.
But I'm going to bring more battery, I think, on the CTR.
Okay.
Rather than charge, I think. Like,
more battery packs?
Yeah, I have a 50,000 milliamp that I brought last year, and I also have a 10,000 milliamp. They're heavy, though. They are heavy, but I'm like, well, it's like carrying a little bit more weight or stopping for a longer time to like charge things, because it takes a long time to charge stuff. Right.
So you're talking cell phone, navigation, and InReach. Those are your items?
Well, and then I have lights that I have more batteries for those now, but I think I was kind of running them high because I didn't have glasses, and so I couldn't see. So I was charging my lights a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, lighting's an interesting one. Because the better, I have pretty good visibility at night. My eyes are pretty good at night still.
Yeah.
Like I rode when I did the 300 Arizona Trail 300 last year, I pretty much had my light in. There's like Econo, it's a Phoenix light.
Yeah.
There's BC 36R, I think. There's like Econo mode, and then low, and then 3 more steps.
Yeah.
And I had it on the second from the lowest setting.
Oh yeah, I run it in the middle if I can. Okay. But like last year, I was running sometimes at high because I couldn't see.
Yeah, that's hard.
Yeah.
That changes the whole charging dynamic right there.
Yeah.
You know? Yeah, because I don't have a battery pack, so, but I think I'm gonna bring one for CTR, because it doesn't sound like there's a lot of really good. Is there like good resupply stops where you can spend time charging?
Yeah, there are some, but like a lot of them are not right on route.
Okay.
Like Breckenridge and Frisco is the first one, and you have to go off route to either one.
Are we talking the direction that the upcoming direction?
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
southbound.
Yeah.
Okay.
And then I think you pass a gas station at there's Copper Mountain. I'm trying to remember like what's on route. I only resupplied at BV, like Buena Vista.
Okay.
I did one resupply last year. On the tour, we stopped like everywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then last year, I think, no, I packed enough food so I could get to BV. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to hit Silverton Market when they're open. And I didn't. I went through there at like 9:30 p.m.
Okay.
So, yeah.
What's your kind of strategy for food in that situation? Do you do calories per hour or?
Yeah, that's kind of how I calculate it. Like I'll usually, and like I know a lot of people don't calculate, but that stresses me out. Because I like, yeah, I just want to like make sure I have enough.
Sure.
So I usually like estimate the pace that I'll go and then the mileage and just do the math that way. Like, okay, I think it's going to take me whatever, like 40 hours to get to this place. And I'm going to usually I'll do like 200 an hour, 200 calories an hour. Like I know that like it's better to take in more probably, but it's a lot to carry.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The last 2 rides that I've tried to do 300 per hour, I've gotten nauseous on.
Yeah. Totally.
So
yeah, Pinyons I had a really hard time eating. Like hence the gummies. And then like Tailwind I do the unflavored one, but even that is like I can't deal with all the like sugar in my teeth all the time, so I have to like pace myself on the drink mix.
Yeah. The fuzzy teeth.
Yeah. I do not like that.
Yeah, I just like go like this.
Yeah, no, I think I brushed my teeth like 4 times during Pinyons.
Oh yeah?
Yeah. I can't deal with the teeth fuzz.
It's good.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. You have to, especially on longer stuff, you have to take care of your teeth and your mouth.
Yeah.
Right? When you're going to eat that much.
Uh-huh.
Especially over like
and so much sugar.
4+ days. Yeah. The sugar.
Yeah.
Like I don't eat sugar. I barely eat any sugar normally in regular life.
Right.
Like almost none.
Yeah.
Right. Like almost no carbs, like super low on that, high protein. But then it's on when I mean, it's all sugar all day.
Yeah, totally.
And I've tried the opposite, and it just doesn't really work.
No.
Like my body needs the sugar.
Right. Yeah.
So, but have found that like I back off the Tailwind just a bit, like at least carry one. I've been caught with only Tailwind in all my drink mix.
Oh no.
And I have no just like regular water.
Yeah.
And all I want is just some regular water.
Yeah, totally.
You know? And
yeah, that's a bad feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's just all like day old Coke flavored.
That was
Tailwind.
me. Yeah, that was actually me on Mingus because I put like an Element or something in my bottle.
Okay.
And then I had Tailwind in my pack. And I was just like dreaming of a glass of ice water.
Right.
Yeah.
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 It's so funny because it's great.
I got to that spring on the way down and just like guzzled a
yeah.
bunch of water. Yeah.
On Mingus.
Super tasty. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. How about that section where you it's after the spring, you go down a little ways and then were you doing this at night? Was this nighttime?
Yeah. It got dark as I was descending. So I got to the spring and it was like the sun had just set.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're like coming up and over and town is like right there.
Yeah.
And then you go down a little further and hang a left.
Yeah, on the single track.
Yeah, on single track.
Yeah, I have to say at that point I was just like I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really fun single track.
Yes.
But it was nighttime and I was like tired.
And hungry.
Yeah.
Did you stop at the Maverick?
Okay, yeah. So my food towards the end, because I was on my budget and I was also very tired and like making poor decisions, my food was pretty weird.
Yeah.
Like in Camp Verde, I got my tortilla with refried beans.
Yeah.
Gummies. I got for dinner in Cottonwood an Uncrustable that was like kind of hard on the outside. Pickles and some Lindor truffles.
Oh,
yeah.
Nice.
And then in Sedona, I hit Sedona at like 5 a.m. and I had bugles, cheese and crackers, and a coffee. Yeah. So the food got weird at the end.
Yeah.
I was like definitely needing some real food by the end of the.
Did you do caffeine at all?
Mm-hmm.
Like
Yeah.
caffeine pills?
I
Or
had some caffeine pills. I had some there are some caffeine gummies that they sell up at Grand Canyon. So I had some of those, and then
Yeah.
like I would get a nice coffee at some of the gas stations.
I've heard that the caffeine gummies or chewable caffeine is seems to have more of a instant effect than like the pills, like no dose.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think sometimes I don't always like feel the effects of the pills, even though they're 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Yeah.
But at that, like sometimes I don't even really, I can't tell like what my body feels. I'm like, I don't know. I'm still going. I think it's proven that caffeine helps keep you alert. So I'll do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you lose any sections with all that sleep deprivation? Are there like pieces that you can't remember?
No, I think, yeah, that's it. I do feel lucky in the sense that like I'm not always a great sleeper. And so sometimes like on just like a random Tuesday, I'll get 4 hours of sleep. Like that's what my body does.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm pretty used to operating with like little sleep. And I also am not going to push it. Like I'm not going to push it to the point where I feel unsafe. I'll just take a nap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good. It's good because that's I think the immediate scary part with sleep deprivation.
Yeah, no, I've heard horror stories about like people not knowing where they are. And
yeah.
When I was on the CTR last year, I was kind of like leapfrogging with Anna Yeager a little bit, and she like took off. We rode some of the La Garita detour together, and then she was just gone. And I was like, I'm not gonna see her again. She's a legend.
Okay.
And then apparently she told me this later, she like kind of pushed it on the sleep and got really confused and didn't know where she was, and just like got in her sleeping bag and slept for like 8 hours or something. And I passed her going up to Kokomo Pass, and she was like still in her sleeping bag. It was like 8:30 in the morning, and I saw her bike and I was like, that's weird. Like it's kind of late, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then, she ended up passing me later, shortly after my like electronic snafu.
Yeah.
Told me what happened, and yeah.
Yeah, I have talked to many people now here in the last couple months on this topic, and confusion seems to be the biggest one.
Yeah.
Right? So people that Dana on Ride Across Arizona, which we recorded that episode last week, and it'll be coming out shortly.
Cool. I'm excited.
Yeah, before
I want to hear about his experience.
It'll be
so
out
awesome.
when this one comes out.
Yeah.
It's scary. It's a very intense podcast.
Okay.
Like he achieved his goal, but he's not sure at what cost.
Okay.
Physically and
yeah.
But anyway, so it'll be out by the time this comes out. But he got into a section where he like thought he was in a loop, thought he kept hitting the same spot.
Whoa.
Yeah. Got very disoriented.
Yeah. Did he sleep at all?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay.
Hour maybe in total.
Yeah.
Trying to recall.
And how long was the total effort?
Just under 3 days.
It's a long time to sleep an hour.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Jessica, my wife, she did Cocodona, and she did about 7 to 8 hours, I think, in 4 days.
Yeah.
So, and
that's intense too.
Mm-hmm.
That's really intense.
Yeah. And she had a similar experience where she was in the Walnut Canyon area, and she kept thinking she was passing the same spot over and over again.
Yeah.
But they have pacers. So they have people who are like lucid, who are like, can take them.
I feel like having
stuff.
this support is like would be just a huge peace of mind.
It is, but it means you can push harder.
Right. That's true. Yeah.
So like, I think that, and I'm fascinated by this difference between ultra endurance running and ultra endurance self-supported bikepacking.
Yeah.
And supported running. Because originally I was a little bit more closed-minded, and I thought, well, they have support, they have aid stations. What we do is harder. But I don't think that's necessarily true. It's just different.
Yeah.
Because then I went out and tried it. I did a 56-mile run.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God.
Running is so hard.
So hard.
Yeah.
And
I've dabbled a little bit in like 50Ks. But like it's like, Yeah, it's tough.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And for self-supported bikepacking like these races, I feel like most of us reserve a little bit of mental energy for like safety and security, like making sure we can get out. We're not so delirious we're going the wrong way, but I mean, it does happen occasionally, right? But it's part of the calculus when we're thinking about these things and doing these things, right?
Yeah.
If you take that out, then you can just continue to push, right?
Totally.
Like if you take out that factor and you say, well, this person's going to make sure I'm going to stay on the path.
Yeah.
Then you can continue to like let that part go and put all that energy into just doing it faster or whatever.
For sure.
Right? So it's an interesting difference.
Well, and then there's also like I don't know, for me on like single track, it's like I want to have enough mental wherewithal to be able to like ride, like not have to be walking sections that like are potentially like, you know, like technical or whatever. Like I don't want to crash. That could end a ride. So it's like I need my brain to function enough to like be able to ride the single track. And like I ultimately want to have fun. Like I guess my goal right now is like, can I go really fast and also have fun? Like that's what I want.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wish I would have had that yesterday.
Yeah,
before
totally.
I ate shit.
Were you having fun?
Yeah. Yeah, I was definitely in type 2 zone fun.
Yeah.
Like fending off the cramps, but knowing those would go away.
Yeah.
Just had when I caught up to Cruz, I was like, oh, this feels good.
Yeah.
Like I caught up to him.
Yeah.
Like I'm doing better than I thought. I was waiting for people to catch up to me as I started to deteriorate.
Yeah. I think we all felt that way yesterday because it was so hot. Everyone was like, "Oh man, I was dragging." Everyone said that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you know how it is. You get in your own head, and yeah, I was having fun for sure. Like going into Walnut Canyon, that first bit, cruising down that, and then kind of just like, you know, going back and forth with Cruz and talking to him every once in a while. And I'm so impressed by him that it's fun to just talk to him. Yeah. You know, and like ride with him for a little bit.
Totally.
So that felt good. And then it just, I don't know, then it was over. Then it was done.
Yeah.
You know? And then you're out.
Yeah.
So, but, yeah. So back to CTR. Any like big lessons you would have learned that you would have done differently on the race? Other than maybe the electronics thing? I mean, that sounds like that was the biggest thing that got your mind.
Yeah.
As a new person going into it, for me, any like top of mind things that you would have me focus on as I'm doing my planning for it?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just like, have you ridden the Colorado Trail before or sections of it?
None of it.
I think for me, like one thing that was helpful was just like I had ridden it the year before and I knew how much hiking there was, and it's a lot. It's a lot of hiking. And I think that can be really like mentally draining for people that are expecting to like ride. Like, you know, there'll be like a 20-mile section and maybe you're hiking half of it and that takes a long time. So it can be demoralizing to like have the miles go so slowly. So just like know that it's going to be slow. And this year I do want to do more hiking. Like I want to hike Humphreys a couple times, just like leading up to it. I kind of forget like how much hiking there is, or I did last year.
Yeah.
I think as far as like a gear thing, I'm like, I don't know if I want to bring an inflatable sleeping pad again. My inflatable pad doesn't keep me like that warm. It's not particularly nice, and it takes a while to blow up, and it's really comfy, so it makes me want to stay in my sleeping bag. So I'm like, I think I might just bring a foam pad this year. But
so back to the hiking thing.
Yeah.
Do you run flats or?
Always. Okay. Yeah, I never clip in. I had a couple bad crashes where I was not able to bail fast enough, and it went south. And you know, like I enjoy technical riding, but I need to be able to put a foot down. And sometimes it like really saves. Like yesterday on Lunar Tide, and some of that loose shit, I started skidding out a little bit, and I like instinctively just put a foot out and like pop myself back up. Like it's like that fast, you know. Right. But I've had enough experiences of not being able to unclip, where I only run platform pedals now.
What type of shoes?
510s.
Okay.
I'm very loyal to 510 rubber. They're not as good now that they're bought out by Adidas, but like the rubber compound is just it's perfect.
What is not as good? What does that
I
mean?
think the shoes are just like a little cheaper.
Okay. Like they made some cuts in some sort
I
of
don't know.
manufacturing process
I
or
don't
something?
I don't know. They like their sizing has I feel like their sizing has changed, like they're inconsistent now, but
Yeah.
I've liked every shoe I've gotten from them.
Yeah, because I had
They don't work for a lot of people, but I've had the Free Rider, the Free Ride Pro, and the Trail Cross, and I like all of them.
Yeah, I had the Trail Cross.
Yeah.
The ones with the SPD clips.
Oh, okay.
And those held up well. They held up for like a mini adventures.
Yeah.
I ended up wearing a toe through the toe on Arizona Trail from the hiking.
Yeah.
A hole through the toe.
Yeah.
Which was annoying.
Yeah, totally.
Because I couldn't keep the rocks out from
that's the worst.
Every time I got off the hike, it was like, okay, here's rocks entering. But
yeah.
that was just me not getting a fresh pair of shoes for
I
Arizona
run
Trail.
gaiters now for that reason.
Yeah, well, I had gaiters on, but it was coming
in the toe. Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah, and I ended up like trying to put my gaiter.
I think you talked about this in the last podcast.
Oh, did I?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
But like you stuffed something in your shoe.
Yeah.
Right?
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I ended up like plugging the hole.
Yeah.
Right. So, but that was
That's
just
awful.
me like getting cheap and not buying a fresh pair of shoes for that. You know.
Yeah.
But I've been really on the fence about CTR and flats and versus SPDs.
You know, so Sarah Higgins, who wrote it last year, who's like, you know, diehard clip-in, said that she would run flats.
Really?
On CTR. Yeah. I mean, don't like absolutely 100% quote me on that. If Sarah listens to this, she can correct.
Yeah.
But
yeah, message
yeah.
us.
But like it's so much hiking. So just like at least a comfortable shoe. I rode it. I toured it the first year in my 510 Free Riders. Like they're essentially skate shoes.
Mm-hmm.
They were fine.
That rubber holds up okay?
It did. Yeah. I like got a lot of and I still have them. Like I'll ride them occasionally. They're pretty worn at this point, but they mostly are impacted from the pedals because I run deity pedals and they're like very big and pokey.
Yeah.
I think I actually want to find a smaller pedal because my feet are just not that big. But
how are your shins? You
They're
get
fine.
a lot of shin smash?
I don't. No.
You figured out the system?
I think I've just been running flats for a long time and I know where my pedals, like I know that's the danger zone.
Yeah.
For my shins. Yeah.
Yeah. I ran flats for a few years and I remember just getting so pissed off when I would smack my shins.
For sure. No, I do that. I do that on a hike-a-bike.
I'd be like, why am I doing this?
Yeah.
I don't know. You got me talked into it. Like I'm like 90% into flats now.
Yeah.
For this particular, and I think Arizona Trail Race, if I could do it again, I probably would have done flats.
For sure. Yeah.
Just easier to get in and out of and safer.
Yeah. And I know that like they're less efficient on gravel, but like there just isn't that much gravel on the CTR. Like there are some detours, but it's not. And honestly, like I haven't found it to be that horrible on gravel. Like it's like, you don't have as much power on the upstroke or whatever, but like if you have some nice grippy shoes, you can make it work. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and the upside just seems so much greater.
Yeah.
The comfortable.
Yeah.
Hiking upside.
For sure.
Cuz like the carbon platform. Mm-hmm. That's what I did like about the Trail Cross is the carbon platform was a little more flexible.
Yeah. I like the trail. I'm going to probably just use my same shoes.
Yeah.
No, they smell horrible.
Yeah, from all the water.
One of the, you know how like 510 have the little like circle pattern on the bottom? Yeah. It's like one of the circles is just gone from that pair of shoes, but they're fine. They have a pretty stiff sole for flats. Yeah. Or yeah, and I like that they're high top. So I get a little ankle support.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Totally. Yeah. All right. I'm gonna go find some pedals.
Nice. Heck yeah.
And shoes. I think that's probably the takeaway for me on this. Yeah. So yeah, interesting. All right, hey, let's take a quick break.
Okay, sounds good.
Sleeping, controlling temperature while sleeping, because Jess is, I don't know how she does it. Doesn't like roast herself alive in the night because it's like 100,000 degrees. She likes it to be 100,000 degrees. Yeah. And I like a cool bed. Yeah. Like, I don't know. Generally, I think the guidance is for better sleep. Yeah, you're supposed to cool it off, and it like triggers something in your body. Yeah. But, so we bought this thing called a bed jet that has a sheet that
Like,
is
you
sewn
can,
in the
like,
center.
control the temperatures of the
Yeah.
two sides. That's
Yeah,
sweet.
but it's basically, so there's like the really expensive ones are like liquid,
Uh-huh.
but this is kind of a cheaper version of it. It still works well. So there's like two units on the bottom, and they have like tubes that go up, and they're fans basically. And one, so you can either run heat, well, so you can control each side independently, and it either runs heat through it, or it just runs like a fan, so it'll just pick up the air from underneath the bed that's usually cooler,
Yeah.
and then run that into the bed.
That's cool.
So yeah,
Yeah.
it's a game changer for like our relationship.
Yeah, for sure. You
'Cause
need
I don't-
sleep.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I sleep like shit when it's hot.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I don't like that either.
Yeah, and so now she can just like turn hers up to 100,000 degrees, and I'll just like put mine on cool,
Yeah.
and we're all good. And we put the eye masks on, and we're like officially old people.
Yeah.
You know.
Yeah, I sleep with an eye mask like every night, so
Yeah.
I get you.
So
My white noise machine.
I've been bringing it bikepacking.
Nice.
The eye
Yeah.
mask. I got like the one that they give you on the airplanes.
Okay.
I like stole that.
Uh-huh.
You know.
Yeah.
Well, they're just gonna throw it away. So
Yeah.
I didn't technically steal it, but
Super tiny.
yeah, just a small little like disposable almost eye
Mhm.
mask. And I bring that by. It's in like my little kit in my sleeping bag. I have it stuffed in my sleeping bag.
Yeah,
and just,
I could see that for the right context being really good.
yeah, just some earplugs and an eye mask.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Certain places I'm like, I want to have my senses like
Do you
out.
though?
Yeah. Like
does it matter?
I guess not. It's like you're pretty tired. You probably couldn't get away from anything anyways.
Yeah.
It's trying to
What
hurt you, but
what are you most afraid of for
people?
For animal? Okay, yeah, we talked
I'm
a little bit
scared of
about this.
people.
Yeah,
yeah, I'm not really. I mean, obviously I don't want to like have a cat encounter or be attacked by a bear or whatever, but like I'm definitely way more scared of people than I am of animals.
yeah. How do you feel going into these towns, like middle of the night, into these odd towns in the middle of nowhere?
I mean, I think it's like I don't always love it, but I think I like to trust that people are just like doing their thing, and like not going to bother me. The first Pinyons, I rolled into Camp Verde and went to the gas station, and somebody asked me for drugs immediately. I was like, "You think I have drugs?" Like, it was just kind of a funny experience.
They were long shotting. They
yeah.
were just like Hail Marrying.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I don't always like trust that people are gonna have like good intentions. Like, I guess if I'm scared of something out there, it's the people. But yeah, I think it is what it is. It's like I'm just gonna go through and get it done and get out of there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a risk management thing too,
Yeah.
right? The longer you linger somewhere,
Yeah.
the more possibility you're gonna have a run in with somebody.
Totally.
Are you ever concerned about your bike getting stolen?
I have been at points, but like not super concerned, I guess.
Do you bring a lock of any kind?
I don't. No.
Yeah. Most bikepackers
I just
don't.
try to like make it super fast.
Yeah. Do you ever bring it inside?
I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. I did actually on the AZT tour in Oracle.
Good call,
Yeah.
because bike theft in Tucson is unbelievable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, that's a little bit outside of Tucson.
Mm-hmm.
I guess like before you go up the climb, there's a McDonald's and stuff like that on the left. I think that would probably be the primo hotspot for bike theft.
Yeah. We were at the Dollar General.
In Oracle?
Uh-huh.
Yeah, you're all right.
Yeah.
Oracle's like a small town, pretty far off the
Yeah,
beaten path,
totally. Yeah.
You hit snow on that, didn't you?
On the backside of Lemon. On Red Ridge, a little bit.
What month?
March. Beginning of March.
I think
But-
that's probably the most unknown thing about the Arizona Trail Race, even the 300,
Yeah.
is that you can hit really bad snowstorms.
Yeah.
Like-
Did you?
No,
Okay.
but
I want to ride Red Ridge without the snow sometime.
yeah,
It's super fun.
yeah, it was death grippy
Yeah.
the whole way down.
Cool.
Not
Like-
with the brakes I had.
Yeah, yeah. It was fun to ride it like on a tour with a friend, just like we were well slept, like we were well fed. We were just like riding and having a good time.
Yeah.
So I enjoyed it.
Now, when you do stuff like that, like touring with friends, what's the dynamic if someone rides faster than someone else?
Well, I haven't done a lot of tours with friends. I started bikepacking with my ex, and I mean, we like were friends, so I guess it's a similar dynamic, but we wouldn't always like ride together, but we would like ride generally close to each other. Sarah and I would sometimes like be a little further apart, but we would like stop and wait occasionally and like take breaks together.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then camp
but not
together.
always ride like right next to each other.
Right.
There was some space.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's always kind of an interesting dynamic, when you're doing group rides like that.
Yeah.
How do you people feel like they should? I feel this way when I'm like with Dana sometimes. Like in Iceland, it was like I felt like I needed to go faster, but I was just so wiped that,
yeah,
and that was a touring trip really. And he was like, no, whatever. Like, I'm not trying to make, I'm not, like, my perception was different than his perception.
For sure.
And I've had that the other way with friends.
Yeah.
And we came up with something where we picked a route and then we kind of predetermined our campsites, like a stage race idea sort of thing, where we said, okay, everybody can go 70 miles this day, and we know we're going to camp in this one area together.
Yeah.
So just make it there whenever, and if you end up linking up, great. If you don't.
Yeah, that seems like a cool way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really great because then the pressure was off. It's just like if
Totally.
somebody gets there at 3:00 in the afternoon, they just are there all afternoon chilling.
Yeah.
And then somebody gets in late, it's fine too.
Yeah.
So that worked out pretty well, as far as dealing with that problem, But yeah. So I did want to talk to you a little bit. Speaking of Arizona Trail, Austin Killips just set the FKT on the 800, and Austin Killips is a transgender woman. And I'd never heard of her ever before that. And I started looking at articles, and a year ago, back in like March in 2023, there was all this commotion in the industry, and I somehow completely missed this whole thing.
With the UCI.
Yes, the UCI thing. And the Belgian waffle race or something.
Yeah, something like that.
And then the Gila something race, where she was the first transgender athlete to compete, transgender male to female to compete in a women's class in a like kind of highly competitive race. Yeah. And ranked, I think she was on the podium. I don't know what placement.
She made money.
She made money on it.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I didn't know that. But it was like a highly competitive event.
Yeah.
And then the UCI went and changed their rule set that basically said that, and I might be paraphrasing this a little bit, but generally they said if you can only compete in the class that you were biologically born as.
I think they changed the male category or the men's category to be men's/open. And my understanding is that they like on the pro level you have to be like, I read this in an article. I'm not exactly sure that I'm remembering correctly, but I think you have to have like below a certain testosterone level to compete in the women's category.
Okay.
Yeah. So I think that they potentially changed that level to be like lower. I don't know exactly what it was, but they were basically like, well, trans women can still compete, but they need to be in the open category, which is with the men.
Okay.
Essentially. That's my understanding.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Arizona Trail Race is gender agnostic.
Right.
Like, if you look at the rankings, it's just a list of names.
Yeah.
And the FKT specifically it's just whoever it is, no matter what, if you're male, female, non-binary, trans, it doesn't matter.
Right.
It's just this is the human that can do this the fastest, right?
Yes.
Which I love that, right?
Yeah.
So there's really no controversy there. Like, nobody cares.
Well, and she set the overall record, which I think it would maybe have been like tough if she beat the women's FKT but not the men's FKT. Like, then there's more ambiguity. Like, it's like, no, the overall record was beat.
Right.
Yeah.
So, good on her.
Yeah.
Like it was an incredible race. That's in my opinion, that's a very different thing than competing against biological women directly and making money,
Mhm.
right? What is your thought on that in sports specifically, and trans women competing against women who are biologically, given the
Like
their birth,
yeah,
gender
like,
at birth, I
yeah,
think is what they
like,
call it.
or like their biological sex, I guess, like initially. But yeah, I think that's tough. It's a tough one. I think as far as like just the competition goes, like if you're talking about purely from a competitive standpoint, I'm like, whatever. Like everybody's just riding their bikes, making like their wheels go in little circles, like, you know, she's woman, she should be in the women's category. You know, like that as far as like the competition aspect of things go. Like that's how I see it. And like, you know, I read some articles in which Austin Killips was interviewed, and she basically said like, yeah, everyone's training their hearts out, and like I'm getting sometimes like my competitors are beating me and they're training really hard. We're like all doing like intense training, and I've trained really hard to get here. And I believe that. Like I really do, you know. And you know, like the I I learned about Austin Killips because she like stole one of my QOMs on Strava. I'm like, you know, still a woman on Strava because I find it interesting to see like my, you know, my biological sex is female and I don't take any hormones, and I'm like, yeah, like I still identify as femme, and in some ways, and yeah, so I was like, oh, who is this person? Like, but we're not that. I mean, she's a better, like, I mean, she's faster than me in like most ways, but like not that different sometimes. Like we keep up with each other according to Strava on like some segments.
Yeah.
And so I think, yeah, it's like, well, as far as the competitive aspect, like trans women are women and they should be able to compete with women in their category. But I think it is tricky when like money comes into play and it's like this really high level thing where like people's, you know, it like contributes to their livelihood, and it's like, well, yeah, I mean, if you look at like sports across the board, like people who are like have like the biological sex, male sex, like they do have like a higher power output a lot of times, or like, you know, develop muscle mass more quickly, and so it is really tough in that sense of like, well, there's a lot at stake here, and like I can understand why people would like think that it's unfair, and also it's like that's just such a hard topic because I like trans people deserve to be the people that they are, you know?
Sure.
And like it's like, no, like she's not like, we don't have to like say like, oh, she's trans woman. Like it's like, no, she's a woman. Like it's, yeah, that's what she is.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think it is really tough, and I don't have like I feel like I don't have a good answer for that as far as like the money aspect of things, like competing at those like really competitive high level events and like winning and making money over other people. I think that's a really tough topic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you feel as though an athlete who is a male for the first certain amount of time in their life and goes through puberty as a male and develops testosterone and muscle mass and then transitions has an advantage over females that didn't do that?
I mean, I don't know the science of that, so I don't really feel like I have a lot of like authority to say.
Sure.
Yeah. Like maybe, probably. I think when you get into endurance cycling, like especially bike pack racing, because there are so many other parts that are not physical, like the logistical and strategy aspects of things, I think that it really does level the playing field with gender, and you see it happening, you know? Like Katya finished second. What was it in
Absolutely.
the Arizona Trail Race last year? It's like,
But yeah, absolutely. Endurance sports in general, I think, and I've always, even before this debate was a big debate, I always loved it because it was an equalizer.
Totally.
Right?
Yeah.
It equalized the playing field because there are so many variables. Sleep, mental toughness. There's so many variables outside of just physical ability.
Right.
That it gave me hope.
Yeah.
Because I wasn't that I didn't have the physical ability at that time, right?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, there's all these other logistics that I might be able to get really good at.
Yeah.
And I can be competitive in other ways.
Totally.
Right? Or I can cut on sleep or what. And then if you really want to get to the tip of the spear, those people are
like doing well at all.
Cutting they're doing well at all. And they figured it all out across the board, right?
Yeah.
But, a few years ago in Pinyons, my goal was just to try and keep up with Katie Stremke.
Uh-huh.
Right? Because she's just so good, and
Yeah.
she's physically fast, and she's got all the logistics worked out.
Totally.
And, like, she's just like really good at it, right? And so
also a legend.
A legend.
Yeah.
They're both legends. They're both Andrew and Katie Stremke are the best.
Have you been watching the Grand Loop?
Yes.
Yeah.
And Andrew was way ahead.
Oh my
last time
God.
I
Yeah.
checked.
He's like probably already done.
I bet he is. Yeah.
Yeah.
A great. Yeah. And Matt Annabelle, who's, from Pinyons, me and him kind of trauma bonded a little bit on Pinyons last year. And so he's staying strong, and he's doing CTR too.
Yeah. I rode with him a little bit last year.
So yeah. So back to your point, like it is a great equalizer, right? And it doesn't. I don't really think it. Like it really doesn't matter. Like on the Arizona Trail Race, it like there is no. This is an easy answer, because I had some people ask me like, oh, how are they going to handle this? I'm like, what do you mean? Like it's just. It's just
right.
the fastest human.
Yeah.
Like there's no rankings.
She broke the overall record.
Yeah.
It's all self-supported. Her tracker was on, no outside support. There's no money involved. Like it just happened, like there's no debate.
Right.
There's nothing to debate.
Right. So, but in collegiate sports, this is where it's starting to get interesting.
Right.
Because that's a different realm for this, but it's kind of somewhat related. Because the NCAA put out a statement about a year ago, and the NAIA, who is a smaller governing board, they oversee like 200 private schools.
Mm-hmm.
They just put out a new policy like in April that basically banned trans women from competing in the women's classification, and it caused controversy, right? And so the NCAA is in kind of they're having a moment right now where they're having to figure out. They're saying that their policy is under review. So we'll see where that goes, in this ongoing debate. I think that personally, I want to put I like to really sit on things before I form opinions. We talked about this off mic at the beginning. Like, I like to get all the information and not be like judgy.
Yeah.
Right. I think that like jumping to a conclusion and being judgy, is one of the worst things you can do. I believe in like personal freedom, right? For people, I think it's what makes this country amazing. Is we all have the individual rights to do whatever we want, right? To say whatever we want and to be whoever we are. However, there are places where we have to be together in things and do things together, right? And then that's where some conflict comes from.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But it's natural and it's okay, right? And as long as we can remember that we're allowed to not agree with each other. Now, I'm not talking about you and me. I'm talking about people, right?
For sure.
And that's okay. And that's what makes progression, and we're open to like the other person's opinion.
Yeah. And
being able to steel man the other side of the case.
Yeah.
Right. And so your Instagram, you have on there she, they.
Yeah.
Right. Can you help me understand that a little bit more?
Yeah, totally. Well, I think so. I like prior to a couple years ago, like didn't really even know what like non-binary meant, I think it is like a pretty ambiguous term, and I think that feels appropriate to me.
Mm-hmm.
I had been doing a lot more thinking about gender and just like what it is and like its separation from biological sex is just like, well, yeah, gender is like the norms in society that we associate with people. And so it's like people who are male bodied act in this way and they do these things and they dress this way, and people who are female bodied do these things and they dress in this way and they like these, like it's like we have these things that are associated with males and females, and then other cultures, like whether in the past or present, they don't necessarily have a gender binary. There are lots of cultures that have multiple genders. And yeah, I was just like learning about that more. And, you know, like I think that I've always felt kind of like I kind of picked and choose from both gender norms throughout my life. Like there were times when I just, especially like my childhood, I wanted to be my brothers. Like I wanted to wear swim trunks. I wanted to like have short hair, and I wanted to like, I was like, certain times I wanted to be a girl and sometimes I wanted to be a boy. And it was like, I just, yeah. And I think that like I'm happy with my anatomy. Like there's nothing wrong with, like, I have not felt the need to like change my biological sex at all. But yeah, I think just like leaning into the ambiguity has felt really nice for me, and just being like, I'm a person, like whatever. Like and I like am attracted to all types of people. I don't feel like I'm like, yeah, I think it just like within the past couple of years, I've just been like, whatever, like it just doesn't matter to me. Like, I think that it like associating myself as like only a woman just felt limiting. Like I just didn't want to do it anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you could really tell you've like felt freer I've known you for a couple years now, off and on.
Yeah.
Right. You just seem like you're really coming out of your shell, like really like happier.
Yeah.
You know?
I think that's true. It's like,
and
I feel like
gained
more
all this confidence.
Me to not be boxed in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I mean, bike packing, you just feel more, you're more confident. It's like, it was really great to see like the last couple of years, you know,
cool.
You're really like,
yeah, thanks.
Yeah. Like you found your stride, you know, in everything.
Yeah.
So, so do you go by she, your pronoun, or
yeah,
I
use both actually.
Okay.
Like, so I've been going in Flagstaff. A lot of people call me Frances, which is my middle name.
Okay.
And I started like putting that on my track leaders, and unfortunately Meta, like Instagram and Facebook, they like haven't let me change my name.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just it's like they're like, you need to have your real name on there. I'm like, this is my real name. It's my middle name. Tons of people go by their middle names.
Yeah.
You know,
like
just
a verification
like,
thing
Francis
or whatever.
I don't know what it is.
Yeah, it's weird.
Yeah,
it's your middle name. Yeah,
I know. Yeah, and it's like a little more gender neutral than Lily, but Lily is still part of my name, and I'm not. Yeah, it's just like it's my name.
Yeah.
I'll go by either one. I'll go by they or she. Like I still do identify. Like I'm female bodied. There are a lot of aspects of me that are like femme, and there are aspects of me that are like associate more with like male gender norms, and so yeah, either one.
Yeah,
like I really, and I like true, I think that ambiguity, like friends have expressed to me that they just like want to know what to say, and I'm like, well, okay, but like it kind of, the ambiguity is like the point, you know, like I don't know, like I'm a person.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I think most people don't want to offend.
They don't want to say the wrong thing. Yeah, totally, and I get that.
You know, and, like people that purposely say the wrong thing are just kind of assholes, probably.
Yeah.
Right. Like if they know, like, and you know, and this is something also that's come close to me in more ways, you know, in many different facets of my life. Right.
Yeah.
And I'm just trying to like make sure that I have a full understanding of it. Also, there are some interesting debates going on with like religious belief systems, right? Because I'm like a free speech absolutist, almost. I'm not talking about harming people. I'm not talking about discriminating. But there are definitely some conflicts with like people who believe in biological genders from a religious point of view.
Yeah.
And that's, I'm not religious. That's not what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But I'm saying, like, you know, in work situations where there's a shared workspace where, like, person A says, I'm not going to do that because I don't believe in that. And that's my right as an American to believe in that. Right. And then the non-binary person says, well, this is my right as a person.
Yeah.
You know, but you can't force me to call you, you know, you can't force that other person to call you a certain thing.
Yeah.
There's a discrimination case happening or whatever. Right. Unless there's like, I'm not hiring you because you're non-binary. Right. That's a different situation, right?
Yeah.
But there's some, I think, fundamental things, and this is all getting, you know, kind of fleshed out. I'm not an expert at this. You're not an expert at this. Like, this is all being fleshed out in the world, in the courts, in all these places, right? I just think it's a very interesting, like, a pressure test on freedom.
Yeah, for sure.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I think in a sense, like, I feel pretty relaxed about my non-binary identity. Like, I'm still, like, I keep the she pronoun. I'm like, well, that's, like, also how I identify. Like, it's just, like, it feels, like, expansive to me. Mm-hmm. And so, like, if somebody calls me she, I'm like, okay, yeah, that's one of my pronouns. Like, great. And so I think I kind of do, like, that. I've thought about, like, am I limiting myself? Do I actually want everyone to call me they all the time? And I'm like, no, I don't think I care. But some people, it does really matter to them. And so I think that's kind of a tougher place to be in, is like the always correcting, or like the having to put yourself out there. Yeah, I think that can be very draining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so it's a new way for a lot of people to think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Totally.
Like, you have to be realistic about that too. Like, people need to be realistic that, like, a lot of people, they have just said it a certain way for a very long time.
Well, and there are sometimes I just, like, don't even get into it. I'm just like, I'm just not going to talk about this, like, family members included. I'm like, we're just going to talk about something else. Like, I don't feel the need to talk about this right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, it's an interesting thing. Thanks for elaborating a little bit.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think the bikepacking world has been very nice in the sense of, like, it doesn't really matter what gender you are. You can just go out and ride your bike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, you know, I mean, look, I think that some have said that a solution for this would be to create classifications for different groups. Like, we have a non-binary classification.
Yeah.
Category.
Yeah.
In Pinyons, right?
Right.
With men, women, and non-binary, and then there's, like, subcategories of single speed and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Like, I don't see a problem with that. That seems like it's inclusive enough to, like, you know, to move forward, right? And not create any sort of waves. You know, could that be extended to different classes of trans people, right? Where you could have competitive classes where you make money.
Yeah.
But you're in your own class, right? I've heard an argument that's othering people, you know, but I don't really see the difference between having a women's class and having a trans women's class, and having a men's class and having a trans men's class.
Yeah. I think that, like, with people who are transgender, it's like the way I mean, I'm not trans, so I can't speak for other people, but, like, they're men and women, you know, like.
Yeah. Right. That's where that argument falls apart.
Yeah, that's where it comes in.
Right. And they don't feel like.
So, like, for some people, it could be othering.
Right.
Because they want to just be the gender that they identify as.
Right.
You know.
It's tricky.
Yeah, it is tricky.
I mean, it's yeah.
Yeah, and I think that, I mean, like, sometimes it's been tricky to know, like, I'm like, well, I'm trying to, like I'm trying to keep up with, like, other women, even though, like, my gender on track leaders is different. But at the same time, it's like, well, I'm female bodied, and at the end of the day, it's all just for fun. So yeah.
Till money gets involved.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. And that's a very good place to exist in, you know. it is all for fun, and I think we kind of blow this up. But there's a lot on the line, you know, and
Yeah.
there's a lot on the line for language and the way language is used, you know,
For sure.
at a bigger level. Like,
Yeah.
and I think it's worth exploring this. But I think Dana helped me to understand it in a way that that I was kind of closed-minded and maybe boxed off a little bit. And he helped me to understand that, you know, that language does change over time.
Yeah.
Right. And that's okay. And like, there were times back where, you know, in the 50s or whatever, in the 60s, where there were certain words and language used. And we look back now and we're like, that was not okay.
Right.
People had to relearn how to say things.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And it was not okay. It was discrimination against black people, you know, like there were like that was, now it's like not okay. Even like when I was in the 90s, there were words we used that I look back and I'm like, not okay.
Yeah, totally.
Change my language.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean that I'm like losing my rights as an American. You know, I'm just being like respectful of humans.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's interesting. I got another one. I got another controversial thing for you. Okay. We're going to go off of this a little
sounds
bit.
Good.
But, what do you think about, do you think there's any kind of performance enhancing drugs being used in like some of these competitive bikepacking races?
Like besides caffeine?
Yeah. Well, that's what got me thinking about this.
Well, I have no idea. It doesn't, I mean, I'm pretty new to the world of bike pack racing. Like I've been bikepacking since 2020. But I just toured for like a few years, and then the past year I've been dabbling in the races.
Yeah.
So I don't really know. I've like definitely like been following things a lot more, and I know some of the races are really competitive, like Tour Divide can be.
Yeah.
But it just seems like kind of like a little backwards in like why people would be doing it, you know? Like there's no money.
There is in sponsorships.
Oh, that's true. That is true.
There's
yeah.
And we're seeing this in the ultra endurance running world.
Yeah.
Winning these events means this is the priority for their sponsors, both in running and in bikepacking or riding,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And there is money. It's not direct money like from the race event, but it's definitely in sponsorship money and influence, right? That's the only reason why I thought about this, because before I'm like, oh, we're just all having fun, right? But the minute money gets involved, I believe that it changes
totally
the dynamic. It corrupts the dynamic of the ethos of some of these things.
I could see that.
I have no evidence for this. I'm not accusing anyone of doing any of this. It's just something that's always I've kind of been thinking about. I watch a lot of UFC, and it's always like very controversial on performance enhancing drugs there.
Yeah.
Right. Especially as these fighters get older and they get into their 40s and 50s, they just can't hang on anymore like they could, like they used to be able to.
Yeah.
And so it makes me think like this super highly competitive, you know, some of these races, Tour Divide, where there's a lot of eyeballs on it.
Uh-huh.
My advertising brain kicks in, right?
Yeah.
It just makes me think like, but the caffeine thing got me started on this because like, where's the line?
Well, there's a point at which caffeine is not productive anymore. It can be like detrimental. Like you get like the jitters and like it's like not good for your brain. I try to not have more than 400 milligrams of caffeine a day.
Okay.
Because that's like what it says on WebMD.
Because you get too jacked up.
Yeah, apparently it's just not good for you.
Yeah.
But sometimes I will curb my caffeine. Like I did that before Pinyons and before the CTR, just so it affects me a little more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I heard that Andrew used to scale. He would taper his caffeine off going into a race.
Yeah.
And then
that's what that's what I did. Yeah.
And it worked, you think?
I think so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Like caffeine's a drug.
Yeah, it is.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
I was just at the doctor the other day and I was like doing my health history thing. And I was like, no drugs, no, you know, this, that, no alcohol, this, that, because I don't drink alcohol. And I was like, they're like, no drugs. And I'm like, well, caffeine's a drug, right? They're like, yeah, but
it's so socially accepted, but it really does. Like the Michael Pollan has a great free audiobook on Spotify.
Yeah.
About caffeine, and it's just like the history and then how much it actually does affect your brain.
Didn't he go off of it for like a year?
Michael Pollan? It was like a significant amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Said it was miserable.
Yeah.
I remember that.
Yeah, yeah.
He said he was like
A lot of people don't do caffeine though, like for anxiety stuff. It's
Right.
yeah, not very good for anxiety.
Yeah.
And then I also like I do sleep better if I don't have any caffeine, but I really like it.
Yeah. Yeah. So I don't know. I just, it's a slippery slope there, I think, for like certain things like that. Like we're all okay with caffeine, but there's no drug testing in any of this stuff, right? Because none of it's sanctioned.
For sure.
Well,
and there are some really high profile riders that are sponsored and they're like going for, like the classic races, Arizona Trail Race, Colorado Trail Race. And it's like, well, yeah, maybe they could be.
Yeah.
But
I don't know.
I like to assume the best and just, yeah.
Yeah.
Hopefully they're not.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. But I don't know. I see maybe it was with kind of the rise in bikepacking too between 2020 and 2023.
Yeah.
It really blew up as a result from COVID and all that. And yeah, I like to assume positive intent also, but there's no testing and there's money involved. So it's like, for me, it's just a matter of time.
Yeah.
And there's like a lot of YouTube money on the line now too for this stuff.
That's true. Yeah.
People are making money off of this. They're making their livelihoods off of this.
Yeah.
And the more that becomes a thing, the more pressure there is to continue that train rolling down the tracks, Yeah. So, and I think that the drug testing thing starts with something small, like, sorry, the PED usage thing starts with something small and then kind of like scales into something else.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think people like go out and say, I'm going to do all this and, have this like plan. I think it starts small and then, especially if you're not getting tested, you could just do whatever you want. I mean, people go to in UFC, people take elaborate measures to mask the drug testing, So, and that was like Olympic level, like drug testing protocols.
Yeah.
And they but there's a lot of money on the line there, like a lot more, like millions of dollars, right?
Yeah.
So that's a different calculus than bikepacking.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, like, I know that some people have sponsorships that are like, they're actually like really supportive sponsorships.
Yeah.
Where the company is like, like Kurt Ruffsnyder and Kate Boyle are like on the pro backcountry team, which seems so cool for Pivot in Industry 9. I'm like, wow, like that is like my dream.
Yeah.
But they're like often sponsored to like go on like a really rad backcountry bike excursion that's not a race.
Right.
And it's just like scouting out a new route or, that seems so amazing.
Yeah, they've really pioneered that whole space.
Yeah.
Like, it's great. They've made their own way on that whole thing.
That's awesome.
And talking to Kurt and getting a little bit more background on that. And, they both just rode to Unbound XL.
I followed their journey. It's pretty cool.
And then rode the Unbound XL race. Yeah, I think Kurt came in like 8th maybe or something like that. Top 10 for sure. Which was really interesting to see Kurt do a gravel race.
Yeah.
As like
for sure, like a mountain biker.
Such a seasoned, like, badass mountain biker. The best, in my opinion, the best there ever was at this point for single track mountain bike racing.
Yeah.
To go up against a bunch of hardcore gravel people.
For sure.
Do you remember what happened in that race last year with the mud?
I like heard a little bit about it, but I didn't really follow.
Yeah, it was kind of big drama.
What happened?
Big drama. Well, there was rain and there was some like death mud sort of situation for a short stretch, and they didn't. I think that a lot of people were griping about ruining their bikes, and
I see.
A paid race I don't know what they were supposed to do. I put myself in the shoes of the race director and like, it's under 24 hours till this thing goes off. Do you really change the route right now?
Yeah. No.
How many people are going to pick up the old route and do the wrong thing and then complain about going the wrong way? You know what I mean? Like, you change the route and resend it out to 170 people or something.
Well, they chose to do it. They chose to ride through the mud.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But since it was a paid thing, it somehow changed. Like, because I'm coming from bikepacking where I'm like, good.
Yeah.
Like, good. That's like a challenge. Like, like,
for sure,
it'll thin the herd a little bit, right?
Yeah.
But the type of riders that you have in that race specifically are different than your backcountry bikepacker types.
For sure. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. And they're also paying. They're paying for the event.
Right.
But
Where does that line get drawn
Yeah.
on like catering? Right?
Yeah,
That was
I
the
don't know.
question on the table.
Yeah.
That was last year though. We're talking old news here.
Right.
But so this year I think I didn't catch any. I didn't really follow it much other than the dot watching, but yeah, Kurt and Kate, they finished. They
Cool.
did well. So
Cool.
I don't know if I saw Kate come in, but yeah. So anyway, they're great humans.
Yeah.
If you can like watch whatever they've done or talk to them or follow them on Instagram, they're
Yeah.
like great
Yeah.
people. So yeah. You want to do some bonus not bonus questions, sorry. I have rapid fire questions.
Okay.
You want to jump into those?
Sure.
A couple of these will be repeats.
Okay. From the opinions.
Yeah. But we're just going to have to tough that out.
Okay. Sounds good. Can manage.
All right. Your favorite in-race food?
Ooh. Probably plain potato chips. Kettle chips. Yeah. Salty and bland.
Nice.
Yeah. I also I've gotten into fig bars the last year. Like they're really easy. They're easy to eat and they're easy to stomach. And
Okay.
I don't really get sick of them.
Nice.
Yeah.
Like Fig Newtons?
No, they're like the kind of like hippie ones, like the nature's whatever nature's made.
Yeah.
Something. Yeah. Fig
Yeah.
bars.
Same idea though.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the soft gooey inside with the fig.
Yeah.
Chewy
I usually get
outside.
the like raspberry flavored ones.
Okay.
Yeah. They're really good.
Yeah,
and they're
that
cheap.
sounds like a good
They're like
idea.
way cheaper. They're like less than $1 a bar, unlike, Cliff bars or Pro bars.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Favorite post-race food?
Oh man, like whatever sounds good. Usually I want something real like vegetables. Or like like I'm like just anything besides like a bar or candy. It depends. This year though, there were some at the end of Pinyons, somebody handed me like an artisan donut and that was really good.
Oof.
I did have to brush my teeth before I ate it. I was like, I need to really enjoy this artisan donut and it was really good. But yeah, like I don't know, like salad or ice cream.
Yeah.
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 Depends.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What's your spirit animal?
Coyote. 100%. I see him all the time.
Did you see any on Pinyons?
No, I didn't see any. Did I? No, I
Yeah.
didn't. But they live up at Grand Canyon, so I would see them all the time up there.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and then they live over on Eldon too, so I hear them a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Coyotes they're cool. They're
it's your spirit animal too, right?
yes.
Yeah.
They're durable.
Yes.
They're like just survivors, And yeah. Only because I see them all the time. I've like been riding and paralleling and one's running next to me. And I'm just like, whoa. And yeah, growing up in the South.
They're adaptable.
Yep. They're in like all 50 states now. And yeah, they're a cool animal. What's your endurance superpower?
Well, I mentioned this before, but I'm like, I think I do okay on not very much sleep. Like I can still enjoy myself a good amount on not very much sleep.
Yeah. Have you always been like that?
Since like pretty much since high school. I like have just had kind of weird sleep sometimes.
Yeah.
Yeah. It like other members of my family it happens to as well.
Okay.
So, yeah. I don't really enjoy like purposefully being sleep deprived, but it's not that horrible for me. Like I don't think I like tank as hard as other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, some people can survive off of 4 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
Some people are programmed differently than other people.
For sure.
Right. Some people need 9 hours. Some people need 4 hours,
Yeah.
Like biologically, people are just different in that way.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if it's in your family.
I have heard that like a lot of times people who are consistently getting like 4 to 6 hours of sleep, they'll feel normal, but they're not functioning as well. Like they don't, their cognitive abilities do decline, but they like get used to it.
Right.
So yeah.
Yeah.
As far as like the science goes, it's like, yeah, we should be sleeping more, but
Like, do you want to sleep more?
in like on the day to day, I love when I can get like 8+ hours of sleep.
Yeah.
Like usually after the CTR and after Pinyons, I've been sleeping like amazing.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like I'll just be able to like go to bed and fall asleep and sleep for 8 to 9 hours. It feels great. Yeah, but sometimes it just doesn't happen. So
Yeah.
I gotta roll with the punches.
Is it like an active mind thing that's preventing you from
I think
sleeping?
sometimes it's like, you know, just I wake up and I'm thinking and I'm like either anxious about something or like have something that I'm looking forward to, you know. And then sometimes it just kind of seems random. Like I'm like, oh, I'm not really thinking about anything. I'm just laying here, not sleeping.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I woke up at 4 a.m. this morning. A little anxious.
Yeah.
Thinking about this podcast.
Yeah.
Yeah. I was a little anxious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It happens.
But yeah. But okay. Worst crash or fall?
Oh, yeah. I had one that was scary. I was riding. I used to live near Idlewild in California.
Okay.
And I was riding outside of Temecula on these like pretty easy trails, but I was like looking at the scenery and my front wheel like went into a rut and I went over the bars, stayed clipped in because I was not prepared to like unclip, and I like caught myself, but I went like right into this. It's like a small tree, I guess, like a shrubby tree, chamise, and the branches will like break off at the ground level. So they're like these like kind of like thick-ish branches. It was probably about the size of my thumb, the branch at the bottom of the shrub, and I like put my wrist right onto it, and so it impaled my wrist. Like luckily did not hit any major blood vessels or sever any like connective tissue, but it was very scary. I like instinctively pulled myself off of it and then had a puncture wound.
Yeah.
And it I felt like I was going to pass out. Obviously, it was, freaking me out. And I was pretty close to the trailhead. So I just like walked my bike out and then laid in the grass. It was like a campground at the trailhead. And the campground host was like mowing the lawn. So I like told her what happened. And I was on my parents' health insurance at the time. I think I was like 25. And I called my mom to see if I could get an ambulance with the insurance. So I did. The ambulance was paid for. I feel really lucky. Went to the Temecula hospital and they like, I didn't have to wait that long at the ER. They like sliced it open a little bit more and like power washed it essentially.
Yeah.
And then I called the campground host because she had given me her number. So she like gave me a ride back to my car at the campground. So it worked out.
Stitches?
I didn't have stitches because, it was not a very big incision. Like it was pretty small, but it went deep.
Yeah.
And it was like, it would like pus out pieces of the wood for like the next 2 weeks. There were just like little brown, like pieces of bark that would come out.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
my body did a good job healing it up, but I was skittish on the bike for quite a long time. Like I would only ride green trails. I would ride like easy stuff. And that's when I transitioned to flats.
Okay.
Flat pedals. Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny how you feel so confident and then one crash.
Well, yeah. And also it was just like, it was stupid. Like it wasn't like it was, if I had gone onto the dirt, I would have been totally fine. Like it was not high speed. There were no rocks involved. It was just, I put my wrist in the wrong spot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In a dangerous bush.
Dangerous bush, yeah.
I mean, that's
I think about that though, like riding in Sedona with the agave, especially like the big, because those could kill you if you impale yourself on them, like for sure they can kill you.
And so Johnny Price impaled his arm on the AZT
on the agave.
Year. Yep.
Yeah.
Terrifying. Yeah, his shoulder. We rolled into Hijinks Ranch. And
he finished the race.
Yeah. Oh yeah. He's a savage. He was like taping it up or whatever. And I had some antibiotics because I carry antibiotics like
an oral antibiotic.
Yeah. Like amoxicillin. I think I just carry like 3 or 4 in the event that you need it. You start feeling feverish and it'll get you whatever,
Yeah.
out, right, without getting too sick. And I gave him some of those because he was doing the 800 and I was only doing the 300. So I was like, here, you take these.
Yeah.
You're not allergic, right? And no, he's not allergic, and he took some with him. I don't know if he took them or not.
Yeah.
But yeah, because he was like, he didn't care about being impaled. He cared about infection in 3 days, 4 days.
Yeah.
That's what he was worried about.
That's legit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Puncture wounds are nasty.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's wild. Who inspires you?
Oh man, a lot of people. I feel like there are a lot of bike packers that inspire me. Austin Phillips definitely was like, I was floored by that effort.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of women in bike packing that I'm inspired by. Alexandra, Katie Stremke.
Yeah.
My partner Ray, like they have gotten so good within the last, I mean, they were good initially, but like have really like just ramped it up within the last year. And like, we spend a lot of time together. So it's been really awesome to see their progression in mountain biking and like, the technical shit in Sedona. I'm just like, damn. Yeah, I think there are a lot of people that inspire me. It's cool to be in the bike packing realm and like share stories. And I think like one of the coolest things is like it's just normal people doing their like normal person thing and then going out and doing like these incredible efforts. So yeah,
totally. Yeah, well said. What's your favorite podcast?
Oh,
or if you listen to podcasts,
this one.
That's the layup. Excluding this one. Thank you.
I kind of listen to a variety. I like a lot of the NPR podcasts, Hidden Brain, usually like social science-y podcasts. Yeah, it's probably my fave.
Do you listen often to stuff while you're riding, or?
Usually music.
Okay.
Yeah, I have like a playlist that's like 8 hours long or something, and it generally like gets me hyped or like just like occupies my brain in a nice way. So I'll usually listen to music, and then occasionally if I like really need to escape, I'll do like an audiobook. I don't do a lot of podcasts usually.
Yeah. What do you use to listen?
I have like the Aftershocks headphones.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then just on your phone?
On my phone.
Through your phone? Yeah. Oh, is it Bluetooth?
Uh-huh.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
It lasts decently long, or one more thing to charge?
Yeah, it is kind of one more thing to charge. It's they last like 8 hours though. It's a pretty long time. Yeah. And they're the open ear ones, so you can like hear if you're like in traffic or whatever.
I've seen those everywhere.
Yeah.
Lately.
I really like them.
Yeah. Cool.
They're expensive, but
yeah. What are we talking?
I think like $120, something like that. But I got my first pair initially for Pinyons 2021, and then I left them at the gas station, Camp Verde. It was such a bummer. I realized it like when I was climbing up Stoneman Lake Road.
Yeah.
And I was like beating myself up the whole night. Then I didn't have any music. I was like, come on.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they have like a special charging cable, so it's like another cable to bring.
Yeah.
Like on the CTR, I lost the cable. And so then I in BV like bought cord headphones, and I like was just rushing and like I don't know. I bought like the wrong port for my phone, so like I bought these headphones and I like couldn't even use them. Yeah. But it makes me a little sad when I don't have any music for that long. Like I really like listening to music while riding. So.
Totally.
Yeah.
What's the worst water source you've ever drank from?
Ooh, probably on the AZT tour this past spring. I like drank from a cattle tank, and it had a lot of poop near it.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
That's like AZTR initiation.
I know. Yeah.
It's drinking from the cow shit water.
I've done. Yeah, exactly. I feel honored. It was fine. I used Aquamira, so it was chlorine. Whatever. I was just trusted it, and it worked out. So.
What filter do you carry?
Well, on the AZT tour, I just carried Aquamira. So
just the tabs.
Is that what that droplets. Is?
Okay.
Yeah, but I've done Aquatabs sometimes. Those ones taste really potent to me, like a really heavy chlorine taste. And the Aquamira I don't taste, like the droplets.
Is that like a vial?
There are 2 little bottles, and you kind of like mix them together, and they sit for 5 minutes, and then you pour them in your water, and you can drink it in 15.
Oh.
So it's pretty fast.
Yeah.
And it kills viruses.
Right.
But on the Colorado Trail, I brought one of those Katahdin like bee-free liter bottles. I like that because you have more capacity, but it's gotten pretty slow over time. Like it takes a while to filter through that. So yeah.
How much water? This is an offshoot question.
Yeah.
How much capacity did you carry on the CTR?
I had a 2-liter bladder and then 1 bike bottle.
Okay.
And then I had my filter bottle, I guess. So that was you could easily do the CTR with like, 3-liter capacity.
Yeah.
Probably less. There's a lot of water.
Yeah.
Some of the detours, I guess, is kind of a longer stretch, but it's the way it's nice. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
it's yesterday I was like, do I carry the extra water or do I stop to filter? Because I was going to filter at the Rio crossing.
Yeah.
I was going to carry less, climb with less weight.
Uh-huh.
But then I ended up just carrying more water. I don't know where the point of diminishing returns is with that. Like on the CTR, there's all this water, great, but what about all the time you spend
like
dealing with it and filtering?
Yeah.
Where's the perfect?
For sure. Yeah, and I'm kind of considering doing the Aquamira this year because it's like, well, you can stop for like, 30 seconds, mix your little Aquamira, keep riding, and then all you do is you fill up your bottle and just pour the droplets in, keep riding.
Right.
It's like you don't have to like sit there and squeeze and if your hands don't work well and
right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah, strategically as long as you don't get all screwed up on, that's what I would do.
Like mix it up.
Yeah, I would get all mixed up on what I'd have to have a good system that I've practiced.
Yeah, for sure.
I've not done that, so that would have to be something I would have to practice.
I think people like Aquatabs for that reason. You just like put it in,
right.
It's done.
Yeah, that's kind of my backup.
But they're potent. I don't know if I like that. Much chlorine. Yeah.
Okay, last rapid fire question. One piece of advice you'd give to a new endurance athlete?
I would say like don't limit yourself. I think a lot. Like there have been a lot of times when I told like the story I was previously telling myself is like I can't do that, but I think the first thing that comes to mind is like my ex and I ran a 50K together and I was like, oh, I can't run that far. But it's like you actually can do more than you think you can, and I think that's where like the inspirational people can like really come into play is like, oh, seeing what other people are doing. It's like, well, why can't I do that? Why don't I just try? And like, if I don't do it, who cares? But it's kind of cool to see like what I could do.
Yeah.
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 So much of it is mental, just being like taking away the barrier of like, oh, that's not something I can do. Yeah.
You start to learn that those good people did that too.
Right.
The people that you looked up to.
At some point, you just got to be like, well, maybe I can do it,
Yeah. Yeah, it's kind of a wild ride in that aspect. Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Is there anything you want to promote? Your Instagram?
I don't even know if I have my handle memorized. I think it's at francis.lily. Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's what it is.
All right. I'm sure people will find you. I'll put it in the description if you're cool with that.
Cool. Yeah. I mean, I don't have a business. I work for the National Park Service. Visit our parks, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so let's see. CTR is coming up.
Yep. I'm thinking about the AZT.
Yeah.
Potentially 300 or 800. I don't know. Whatever I can get time off for.
Yeah. Yeah, I know the 800s has to be on your radar at some point.
It does. Yeah. I mean, I know that the hike across the canyon would be like grueling, but it's also like it's been my home for 3 years and it would be like a really iconic way to end a bikepacking trip. So yeah. I do love the canyon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, thank you for coming on.
Yeah.
Today.
Thanks for the time to talk and thanks for making the pod.
Yeah.
It's a great podcast.
Thanks.
Yeah.
And it's been really, really great getting to know you the last couple of years.
For sure.
Watching you progress. And I look forward to seeing you at all these events. And
Yeah. And we're neighbors. We should ride.
Totally.
Yeah.
Yeah, totally. And I think we're very similarly paced. So
Yeah, sometimes. Sometimes.
I think we are. Oh, I forgot to ask the last question. I have to ask this.
Okay.
Were you happy with your bike choice on Pinyons?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. It was a little heavier than my hardtail by like 3 or 4 pounds, and it was totally worth it. All that single track, man, the full suspension just rips. Like that bike just rips. It was so fun. Like I gotta have fun, you know? Like that's what it's about.
Yeah.
I don't want to be out there and just like, yeah. No, it was awesome.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
All right. Well, thank you, Francis.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Of course. Cheers.
Cheers. We'll get you out of here.
All right.
Thank you.
Yeah.